Peace, 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 peace. Peace, love, and light to all the American Aborigines. This is your brother, Aboriginal Power. Hope everybody's having a blissful grand rising. I hope y'all have a beautiful day today. I hope y'all enjoy it, get a lot of y'all things done today, and wish high vibes into your day today. It's your brother, Aboriginal Power. If you're new to this YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. As soon as you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can get all your latest content and alerts for live streams. Make sure you hit that like button, you guys. Not gonna hold you guys any longer. We're gonna get straight into it. Appreciate that. Let's go. Hold on, let me run it back. Let me run it back a little bit. Let me get it together. Here we go. Let's go.
Look, I wanna help my people rise, so I feel like the one. On other days, I feel like Nas, it's just like I'm a gun. Don't make me pull it, I got bullets in the chamber too. I load my brain with truth, then I aim at you. Bang! You know the name is King, leaving a legacy. Cooking up a feast for everybody that's next to me. Loyalty and love, I put it all in the recipe. So when it's time to eat, my dogs, they know my pedigree. Yeah, a prodigy wreaking havoc, my mob deep. On another level, it's elegant. The John speak. You have now witnessed the illest stepping on concrete. Young and godly, a blessing if ever our palms meet. I take L's as lessons I never lose. Hot enough to melt metal and step in the devil's shoes. This young king special, I'm telling you I'm the truth. And my spirit is forever, so tell him I'm bulletproof. Infinite since 1026, I've been legit. Came through in 9-2, who picture me killing this years later? I'm next generation, you still Sega. This is the real deal, you lives is real beta. You lying like you solid, a bunch of you niggas soft. We're the same designers, hollering you cuff from a different cloth. It's in you, it ain't on you, so fuck all that shit you bought. Me, I rock our own brand, so fuck with a different boss, nigga. Name another rapper, tell it like this. I give it to you straight raw, some intelligent shit. When your mind can drop diamonds, fuck selling the brick. Cause in the streets it ain't no honor, they be telling this shit. Who better than this? I'm rapping with an elegant twist. These niggas say they handle bars, but they ain't peddling this. Sometimes I wonder why I never see them stand up for shit. It's cause they shook, cause ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. Not scared to death and scared to look. They shook.
Yeah. Let's catch the vibes. Let's catch the vibes. Make sure I hit that like button, man. We'll keep this thing going. Let's go. Grand risings to all my cousins in the chat. Peace and love to all my cousins. Peace and love. Make sure I hit that like button. We turned up today. I got y'all a nice build today. I got y'all a nice settled build coming from two different ideologies that we've been having these discussions about this week. So you're gonna have a live debate right here about these two particular ideologies. Hopefully y'all get a lot of information out of
this. This a lost generation. We starving for greatness. We hardly can make it, and truth is a pill that we hardly can take. Look at our generation, walking lost in this matrix, praying God come and save them. You will do it for yourself if you really want to help, otherwise it'd be hard to escape for the lost generation. It's a lost generation. We starving for greatness. We hardly can make it, and truth is a pill that we hardly can take. Look at our generation, walking lost in this matrix, praying God come and save us. You will do it for yourself if you really want to help, otherwise it'd be hard to escape for the lost generation. Where everything's fun and games, we drink and we smoke just to numb the pain. We scream for the cops when a brother gets shot, then we march for our money, don't nothing change. Damn, I'm tired of these fucking games, shit. We gotta do something, man. They label us black, our history snatched. We don't even know where the fuck we came from. They gave you another name, washed it and gave you another brain. We used to be scholars till they gave us dollars. You gotta realize this a fucking game, so make sure you play it right. When you give it your all, you sleep when you lay at night. I am a ray of light, that's an affirmation, something that you can say alright. I hope this work get exposed, I swear this cycle's getting old. How we giving all our children shit, we couldn't deal with it. Shit from further from their souls, this world is so cold. Thinking myself like, damn, sometimes I don't wanna have faith. Like, damn, what they gon' have faith? I guess all I can say is, damn, this a lost generation. We starving for greatness. We hardly can make it, and truth is a pill that we hardly can take. Look at our generation, walking lost in this matrix, praying God come and save them. You will do it for yourself if you really want to help, otherwise it'd be hard to escape for the lost generation. It's a lost generation. We starving for greatness. We hardly can make it, and truth is a pill that we hardly can take. Look at our generation, walking lost in this matrix, praying God come and save them. You'll do it for yourself if you really want to help. Otherwise, it'd be hard to escape with a lost generation where youngins be selling us dope and politicians sell us hope. We never noticed all the power we got in our hands. They trick us and tell us to vote. Why should I care about July 4th? That want what my people died for was given religion and put up in a wicked system. But this shit won't our choice, so just find yours. There's different meanings of freedom, you need to define yours. Republican, Democrat, I don't get into that. They gotta give us back our voice. Cause how can the president speak for me? Or clean up the streets and find peace for me? They can't part the Red Sea for me. If I thought that, then I ain't even free. I'm just trying to tell them. The hand they dealing us is deadly. Let's come together for protection. They use the air, food, and water as weapons for harming my essence. It's time that we check. I need my people to help me. The time is now. We need plans. But we ain't got no hope, so we apply, go vote and say, y'all don't know, just keep praying. Damn, it's a lost generation. We starving for greatness. We hardly can make it, and truth is a pill that we hardly can take. Look at our generation, walking lost in this matrix. Praying God come and save us. You'll do it for yourself if you really want to help. Otherwise, it'd be hard to escape with a lost generation. It's a lost generation. We starving for greatness. We hardly can make it, and truth is a pill that we hardly can take. Look at our generation, walking lost in this matrix. Praying God come and save you. You'll do it for yourself if you really want to help. Otherwise, it'd be hard to escape with a lost generation.
Yo. Shout out to my brother King Azir. Shout out to the brother King Azir. Fire music. Drop some ones and some fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear me loud and clear. I'm going to continue this with this last song. Make sure y'all hit the like button when we get straight into the audio. Make sure you hit the like button. Share this on all your social media outlets as well, because they're working extra hard to stop my analytics, and I'm also being shadow banned at the same time. So I appreciate you guys for sharing this on your YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, or Twitter. So let's continue.
Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single mama playing high, we ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hot and black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man zone. And I ain't talking shit, this my definition. If being savage was our nation, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say. We the God to the gate. So when they say they fear God, now you know what they made.
Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down. Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down.
Every day my niggas dying, they don't know the truth. How the hell you close to God, we don't know it's you. Yo, how the hell you supposed to survive, we don't know the shoot. He should've died, you let him slide, cause he look just like you. I tried to tell him all skin ain't kin. Everybody ain't your partner, everybody ain't your friend. How the hell they supposed to help when they the ones that put you in? They don't struggle how we struggle, they can't get it how we live. Can't be scared to die when we already dead. Either way, your life is safe no matter how you play it. My higher self said we should choose remain godly. My lower want these motherfucking bodies. Infiltrate they circles like a motherfucking Audi. Take them to the south and put them down like OG Bobby. They don't want equality in this club, they want these problems. Killers right beside me, slab full of chicken waffles.
Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down. Hit a nigga with that boom, he gon' go down. Shoot some, move some, shoot some, move some. Put us in the same room, it gon' go down.
Hit a nigga with that boom, it's gonna go down. Shout out to my brother Trey Ali, man, for the new song. If y'all haven't heard it yet, go to his Instagram, go to his YouTube, type in Trey Ali. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel and go listen to that 1865 Return of the Chickamauga. Definitely a fire song. Definitely a fire song. I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer. Let's get straight into this debate that happened between two different ideologies: the Afrocentric Pan-African and an indigenous Aboriginal mind state going against each other. So let's
new or describe nascent movements. because I have a lot of influence historically on the origin, but the periphery of these things have kind of spun out of gear when it comes to this whole Aboriginal concept. But what I would like to share tonight is clarity on that movement, and it deals primarily with institutional construction that can not control, but influence the current nomenclature, classifications, terminology, languages, or language terms that we're using, so we can see stuff in a broader context. I think that as an educator, people who know me as an educator, I started out as the principal of Muhammad's Islamic Academy in North Philadelphia, 26 and Cecil B. Moore, and I'm a curriculum developer. And so one of the things that startles me about the neo-colonization of our people globally is that we are still stuck in there's nothing, no other term that I can use for it. It's a superficial cultural framework and dynamic that does not penetrate deep enough to solve our daily problems, and nor does it explore deep enough into things that we have been given that we take, I think, now on face value, such as the out of Africa thesis theory, such as the concept that Africa cannot be clearly shown its origin, and our disposition towards holding on to things that become dysfunctional. One of the things that culture is supposed to do for you, is supposed to protect you, and it's supposed to stay fluid enough so you can adapt and change to times. And so I think that when I begin to talk about the origin of the Aboriginal movement, which I think started with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I think for the most part, he was the first person to use that designation for our people. And also his historical reconstructions, some of the foundations of them are just being acknowledged. And so that is my origin into talking about a global Aboriginal paradigm, model, concept, even culture.
Hey, I want to make sure before I move forward, give me about 20 seconds. I'm going to be back. Drop some ones and the fire emojis to let me know if y'all can hear everything loud and clear. Give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Let me check the audio. Let me get a one in the chat. Let me get some fire emojis off in this motherfucker. Peace and love to all my cousins. Let's get it cracking in here. Let's go.
Synthesis between various cultures on different continents. So I want to talk about that. I want to answer Jabari's questions as best I can. And I have very, very precise questions for him, being as though he has been credentialed in the field of Africana studies.
Okay, so my brother Jabari, let's begin with you, my brother. Would you like to begin by questioning Dr. Ali Muhammad, or would you like to begin by giving a presentation?
I think that I have, I don't know if it's going to take very long. I know we talked about 10 minutes. I don't know if it's going to take that now that I'm thinking about it. But what I want to do is I want to at least, because I believe the family has seen the video that he did with you, I think it was right before 4th of July or 4th of July 3rd or something around there. I think that I might say a few things and maybe even toss it back to him. I'm hoping that we get into a dialogue, but I do believe that there may be a need for us to set some terms and set some basic structures so we can understand what each other are saying. So perhaps that's the best way to approach it. So I'm gonna look at the 10 minutes, but I don't know if I'm gonna take all 10 minutes. Does that make sense?
Yes, go ahead, brother. It's on you. You got the floor.
Okay. So family, once more, I'm pleased to be here with you. I think I need to say that, and maybe I'll say a word about this here. I did a video with Brother Sonetta, our dear Brother Sonetta, at the International African Arts Festival, where I said that I was really concerned
about some of the things that I was hearing in this community that's called the Aboriginal movement. Clearly, because I've said some pointed things about Brother Dan Calloway and others, as Sonetta can attest, there have been a few folks putting up some interesting videos about me on YouTube, and that's fine. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with pushing back or challenging information or of that sort at all. But I will say to you that I believe that historically, due to our the way that the transatlantic slave trade has affected us, our people have had trouble acknowledging their Africanness. I'm not saying necessarily that that is what Dr. Ali Muhammad is doing, but I will say that what he's saying plays into that very dangerous narrative. And as someone who was a scholar, someone whose intellectual abilities I respect, I want to challenge him on that and caution him on it. Because as we begin to describe ourselves as something other than African, what we are doing in some ways, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is that we are falling back into some of the same traps that we were in before we began to call ourselves African and be recognized as Africans. Let's be very clear that our enslavers chose to call us anything but African. Negroes, niggers, anything but African. And one of the reasons why they did that is because it is easier.
You wasn't allowed to call yourself an Indian, though. You see what I'm saying? He said they called us anything but Indians and Aboriginals.
To a culture, if they're not connected to a people, if they're not connected to anything. So that disconnecting us from our history, disconnecting us from our names, disconnecting us from our languages, trying to disconnect us from our culture was a very intentional act. And so as we have been pushing back continually, family, and trying to describe ourselves in a way that rehumanizes us, we have finally gotten from Negro to Afro-American to African-American. Now, I'm going to say to you that generally I don't usually consider myself an African-American, although I was born in Brooklyn. I don't take issue with being called African American, but when I describe myself, I usually consider myself an African in America. And so it is very important to me that we begin once more to connect ourselves with the landmass. And so that is important to me. I think that we have gotten to a point, family, where our people are looking for who we are. I think if you look at the ancient history of African people, I truly believe that there was a period in time when our ancient African ancestors realized that this glorious period where Africans were at the forefront of human history was coming to an end. Particularly for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to go into great extent here. Look at what those great rulers that we call the Nubian kings of ancient Kemet did in the 25th dynasty. They started to push back against other peoples who were beginning to become more powerful and contest the powers of African peoples. And when they realized that they could no longer keep the jewel of African civilization, Kemet, they began to take texts that were written, ancient texts that were written in papyrus, and write them in stone so they could last forever. They began taking images of the divine, images of themselves, and systematically, for example, dismantling statues and burying them in deep holes. I think they understood that they were caretakers of a very ancient history, and that they would, if they were no longer as powerful as they had been, I'm talking about the African in general, that they would no longer be able to do that. So they started hiding things. And I believe they were hiding things for you, family, because they knew there would be a time that we would return to maturity and go seeking our name. It's almost like what parents do for children when they first set out on their own. You might remember, I know my mother used to write my name in everything. My lunchbox had my name. My underwear had my name. My jacket had my name. My sneakers had my name, because she said, you're a child.
For those that's just coming in asking questions that may be confused, This is a debate between a Pan-African and an Aboriginal ideology. So through this discourse, you should be able to gather a lot of information, a lot of data that specifically targets this particular ideology for those that's confused and coming in asking questions.
And you may not truly understand or always recognize how important you are. These things that are yours will be lost. That is what our ancient African ancestors began to do. But when you mature, you no longer need someone to write your name for you. You go seeking your name. You go seeking your history. You go seeking your culture. And I believe, family, that that is the period that we're in. We're at a point where we're beginning to reconnect ourselves in some meaningful ways to the continent of our origin. And that is powerful. So these movements that are saying, well, we're not African, concern me, particularly because they are usually done without any connection to any primary, secondary, or tertiary evidence. I hope that Dr. Ali Muhammad will provide some of that tonight. But I've watched, I'm embarrassed to say how many videos I've watched from folks in the Aboriginal community and conversations I've had with folks who are in the Aboriginal community. And I've realized that, particularly as a historian, family, as a trained historian.
This nigga Jabari had several conversations with me. He used to say that Aboriginals didn't teach. They were just talkers. They didn't have no sources, nothing to back up their data. We changed that narrative. I just want that to be clear. That narrative we changed.
My community. Many of the people in that community don't have a fundamental grasp on history. And so they make claims that are untethered from any articulation of history whatsoever. All you need to do is pull one thread and the entire cloth tears itself asunder. And so that is where we're at. That is why Jabari will continue to push against people who do that. And you know, family, that for a long time, our people.
He never pushed against me. I just want to let y'all know this nigga never pushed against me.
Because she was Indian. People would say that continually.
The grandma angle.
And now that we've gotten into the realm of DNA studies, those people we are now able to articulate that most of what we were seeing is actually a remnant of a painful period. The enslavers' access, sexual access, rape of our women.
You got 2 minutes, Brother Jabari. You got 2 minutes.
Go ahead, traits that we see are not Aboriginal. Those traits are actually things that we see that come from us from the European. And so I know that's painful and we like to describe it as something else, but I'm going to show you some information tonight from people who are experts in DNA that will show you that that is where it comes from and describe the importance of understanding that. Finally, as I close, I want to say that I don't think that Dr. Muhammad has a clear understanding on the history of Africana studies. Some of you know that I am a graduate of Cornell University. Cornell University established the first Africana Studies Center in the country. So I am really ensconced in the Africana Studies movement. I'm aware of its major figures. Its major figure is my prime mentor, Dr. James Turner. So I'm going to show some information on that today, and I hope that.
Hey, brother, not a coincidence. I just played the whole conglomerate of videos from me on channel, Bro Sanchez channel, conversations with brother Larry, Sankofa, Jabari, and brother James Smalls. I played that all in one video not too long ago. You might have to go check that build out, brother. It was a fire build.
There'll be some things that we can come to agreement on this evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, my brother Jabari. Before we bring on Dr. Ali Muhammad, family, let's give these brothers a thumbs up. They are here with you on a Friday night. They could have been doing something else, but they chose to come out here and give y'all this love, this information, this consciousness. I noticed that shirt my brother Dr. Ali got on. He wore that today, baby. He wore that today. Feathers up, getting it in. And let's get these thumbs up and these likes up, family. Without any further ado, Dr. Ali Muhammad, the time is 9:32. You got 10 minutes, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Peace, family. Most of the audience is pretty familiar with me for being on Sinetta. If you're not familiar with me, you know that I operate within a jurisdiction called the Aboriginal Republic of North America, and my primary orientation into Black consciousness or some form of consciousness was via the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his various ministers, Minister Farrakhan, Mr. Salas Muhammad, and all of the brothers who represent the origin of that particular movement. My conceptual framework for aboriginality comes from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the first question of what we were asked in our rites of passage is, who is the original man? And the answer that we were given is the original man is the Asiatic Black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe. That was the conceptual framework to give us a concept of who we are in our identity at its most in its purest form. All right. And when we say original man or original woman, we're talking about and we'll use this term because we have to be careful with these terms and what they mean, but we're talking about the original human of this planet Earth. And we're saying from that paradigm that we, the people who you're looking at now, me, Sinetta, Jabari, other people who are labeled as African American, some people who are labeled as African on the continent, we're saying that we are the original people. We are the first humans. We have been here on this planet longer than anybody or any of the other biodiverse forms of humans. And we're also saying that the institutions that, I'll just use the term Eurasians, the institutions that the Eurasians have set up in Africa, in America, have been constructed to intentionally deceive us about our history. So I'm going to do one thing now. I want to show a picture, all right? And this picture is going to be something that we can use to show how flawed we are. Jabari just said something about phenotypes. I guess, you know, some of these people who are Indians are showing phenotypes. I don't represent those people. I'm not an Indian, all right? I'm not a person who is attempting to say that our people have no genetic connection to the peoples that we are talking about on the continent of Africa. I'm not saying that. I'm not that classification of people.
And I say, and I'm not a disagreeing to that neither, but we got to explain that away. It's science that explains why you are connected with certain people in Africa. This is the thing that y'all got to get into as science.
That there has been insurgence of European genetics that have given rise to a phenotype. This is a Fulani woman. The Fulani, if you want to call it ethnic group, is the largest ethnic group in Africa, and it covers from West Africa all the way to East Africa. If you look at her features, which you'll find throughout different Fulani groups, especially in the region of Senegal and other places, you'll see a certain type of nose, a certain type of lips. And so what some people automatically do is infer that someone who has this phenotype must be an admixture. And what we don't understand is that according to geneticists, especially in West Africa, the Fulani have the least amount of admixture, but they have what we call hawk-like features. But these features can change. You can go to Uganda, and in Uganda, the features are a little bit different than what we experience in West Africa amongst the Fulani. And so what I'm saying is, when we start making statements and start having these particular types of concepts, some of them are outdated. If we show some pictures from the 1800s of someone, and we're saying that they're Native American and they might have features, some people might say, well, those aren't African features. What is an African feature? What are these things that we're saying? So let me backtrack a little bit so I can stay on point and get to what I want to talk about today. First of all, I want to talk about, when we say Aboriginal people, we are talking about the people who are the autochthons of any particular space on this earth. When I say autochthons, I'm talking about the first people in that particular area.
The one who came
And of
from
course,
the soil.
if we're going to look back in time, we have a lot of different ways to try to figure that out. And those people established cultures and left records. They left epigraphy. They left monuments. And so an anthropologist's job is to go into these particular cultures, go into Cholula, go into the Great Pyramid, go to these areas. And who are these people? Often, when we start talking about localizing who we are, we mentioned Nubia just now. How many people here can actually genetically trace themselves to groups of people in Nubia, in East Africa? We can honor another.
That's explained through a migration. Shout out to my brother Chief Holiday in the building, man. Big Chief Holiday to you niggas,
what do
man.
we actually mean? Like, we are way far away from Nubia, right? We have a way different current relative culture. We have some indigenous themes that are very similar across large borders. But when we say our people, what are we saying? How is a people formed? 30,000 years ago, was there a Wolof? Of course not. But now, within the last few thousand years, or in the context of a few thousand years, we have a people who call Wolof. How do we change over time? What are the things that are absolute about culture, and what are the things that are relative? I think that the Pan-African paradigm, in its origin and synthesis, was played with some very viral type of educational pins. And those educational pins have survived to this date, and that the culture that we are being brought is becoming more and more pseudo and superficial. It does not solve our problems. It does not address our issues that we have. It's often moving more towards a feel-good religion for people who can celebrate something because they have been made to feel like over generations after slavery that they were nothing. And so this feel-good energy, where we grab hunks, and none of our ancestors are actually from Egypt. If you want to deal with the actual genetic studies on where the origins in their nomenclature of genetics, where we generally come from, ancient Egypt is not mentioned. There's no mention of Northeast Africa and the origins of African Americans. That is an adoption of a culture of a people who have the same color skin complexion, who had a very powerful classical civilization. And so when we start dealing with who we are as a people, our people today have developed their own culture here in America. All right. And I would propose that the most powerful culture that has ever been presented to us as a people in our relative circumstance to adopt even facets of it, even if you weren't a part of the organization, was the first man to call us aboriginals. And that was the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so in his ideology, in his model, he saw a global network of original people who were connected scientifically, biochemistry, and based on biochemistry. He also saw that we had lost a lot of knowledge that we had in later or earlier epochs of time. And that with the onset of these other mutants, that's all we can call them, Eurasians, that the invasion and the other things.
Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Hit the like button. If y'all want me to continue this fire build out, hit the like button. Support the channel. Share this on all your social media outlets.
So it was something that we need to study in cultures. We don't just adopt old cultures because we had them. If they had facets of them that were not able to survive the colonization, this is something that we need to study so that we can make and adopt the changes that are necessary. And so that it
Give me a second, you guys. I don't know what's going on. Let's see if we can get it together. Make sure y'all hit that like button, though, man. Drop some fire emojis, man. Support the channel. You heard?
Yeah, you got another minute, my brother.
Okay, absolutely. And so when I look at what they're calling Indian culture, and we start rolling it back in time, and we look at the genetics, we look at the epigraphy, we look at the so-called Mayans, we look at the so-called Olmec, we look at the southeastern tribes in the United States of America, we look at the Gullah Geechee, we look at the names that the chiefs amongst the Gullah Geechee call themselves, these terms are indigenous. Where did they learn these things from? I want to talk about that and how that is a broken history, and most of the people in the Pan-African paradigm are not open to some very detailed study that can help us see a broader picture of our Aboriginal paradigm on this planet.
Hey, and we helped mold this ideology, y'all. We did that shit. Big Al Power, you niggas, you my cousins. We changed this ideology within a couple of years by constantly putting out the information.
942. Go ahead.
I want to thank him for his spirited rejoinder. I think it was interesting, although I think that it was flawed. It was certainly interesting. So I want to try to drill down on some of the things that he said. One of the things that I've heard is he said that I talked about someone's phenotype, and he shows a Fulani woman. Dr. Ali Muhammad, I travel on the continent. I see those same phenotypic structures everywhere. I travel in Kemet. I travel to Ethiopia regularly. In fact, I would argue that often when we see certain phenotypic responses in people in other parts of the world, for example, I say often that when we see Africans, like some of the original people of Africa, the Khoisan people, or the Kongsan is what some people are calling them now, you'll actually note that their eyes look nearly Asian. And so people say, wow, how is it that this person has Asian eyes? And I often say, those are not Asian eyes. Those are eyes that the Asians got from their parents, the African. So to show me a Fulani woman that has a narrower bridge, I'm not sure if he's referring to me and to what I said. What I am saying is that there are people who are confused about the nature of where some of our features come from. And when we do DNA studies, we don't generally say, oh, you got that feature from Ethiopia. Now listen to what he just did. He wanted you to see that he made a comment that most of our DNA doesn't come from North Africa. And then he wanted to describe to you North Africans that have that phenotype. The phenotype that we see with straight noses and less than extremely tightly curled hair, that usually comes from the European who had access to African women. If I had time, I'd like to play a brief presentation, it's very brief, from Dr. Gina Page, who is one of the principals of African ancestry. And in all of the work that they have done, they actually see that the majority of those things that we see do not come from people that we would consider the native. Those features don't come from people that were considered the native people to this land. They come from the European. That's where those straight noses and that less than tightly curled hair tends to come from. But here's the other thing. Dr. Ali Muhammad would also like us to be so literal that we believe that the only way that we can connect ourselves to certain traditions, and he mentioned Kemet because I think that he thought that that was a response to me, is if we can find direct lineage there. And I think that that's the kind of argument that Europeans make. And they only make it with regard to Africans because they want to steal our African heritage from us. So take a look at this. Let me share my screen for a second. Now, family.
He said, let me share my screen.
This building is considered the Lincoln Memorial, right?
Right.
And I think that as we look at the Lincoln Memorial, you might say, well, why in the United States would Tom Who create a building that looks like that? That's not where their family is from. I don't hear anyone making that argument. That argument is only made when we come to Africans. Bullshit. Because the Tom Who, once again, is attempting to remove our ability to connect ourselves to the continent. That's a problem, family. It's a real problem. So let me show you one more image so that I can make this point clear.
People will literally tell you to go back to Africa. How are they disconnecting it? They don't give a fuck about that lie. Take your ass back to Africa is what they tell you.
Now, some of you may not know what this building is. This building is called the Parthenon in Greece. So why in the world? Now, let's be clear. I want to make a real quick statement. The Parthenon is based on a Kemetic structure, right? But that's not why they made the Lincoln Memorial look this way. They made the Lincoln Memorial look that way. Take a look at them again. Because what they're doing is they're trying to connect themselves to what they believe is the greatness of Western civilization. The European does this all the time. And in fact, if you look closely to the Parthenon, you're going to notice that almost every old bank that you've ever been in, family, and I know Brother Jabari and Dr. Ali Muhammad are a little older than some of the people in the chat room, I think. So some of y'all be like, my bank just is a storefront. What is he talking about? Well, I'm sure that he remembers seeing banks look like this too. Why? Because the Tom who was trying to connect themselves to what they were arguing was the greatness of Western civilization. But then when Africans decide to connect themselves to the greatness of African civilization, then we hear, well, you don't have any parentage there. This is a slippery slope that the European likes to get us involved in. I am an African. I don't have to show you that I have DNA from North Africa, although I do. I'm an African. My family most recently on the continent, a good portion of it, I can draw direct lineage to Guinea-Conakry. So I know exactly to a person where some of my ancestors come. I've never said that on your platform before, Sonetta. I can draw my lineage directly to the continent. That's not the point.
He lying.
First of all, we have to understand that if I look at the continent of Africa and I say, this is the beauty of Africa, I'm going to connect myself to the flower of African civilization. Everybody else in the world does that. But when the African does, there's a problem. Second of all, let's also say something else. All of those great West African civilizations in their oral tradition, in their written tradition, in their iconography, in their form of spiritual, in their spiritual forms, they always say that those traditions go back to Kemet. So the West Africans themselves tell you that their origin comes from there. And if Dr. Ali wants to challenge me on that, I could give him, the whole bookshelf here. I wish you could see the bookshelf, the entire bookshelf. I was setting this up for another brother that said something to me, whose name I won't mention here because that'd be unfair. And I said, look, I have everything here prepared. When you look at the Vodun tradition, when you look at Mami Wata, when you look at all of the ancient spiritual traditions of Africa, they always draw themselves back to Kemet. So I am doing nothing more than what my foreparents expected me to do. So don't pull off that thing where we think that we're talking about Kemet and now all of a sudden it's like, ooh, Jabari ain't a Kemite. What does that mean? Jabari's family comes from Guinea-Conakry. I'm clear about that.
This nigga saying a whole bunch of sweet nothing.
2 minutes, brother Jabari.
A whole bunch of sweet nothing. Hold on, y'all. Let me take a quick 30-second break to get the audio straight. Hopefully y'all cool out there. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Let's get it cracking. All right, we back. Let's get it cracking. Make sure y'all hit that like button. It's your brother Aboriginal Power, big Aboriginal Power. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Share this on all your social media outlets. I do appreciate all the support. If you want to, donate to the channel, man, feel free. We got the super chat. We got the Cash App links on the screen. Appreciate all the support.
Also contest the term Africa, and I want us to talk a little bit about that tonight. But he's comfortable with the term Aborigine. Does he not realize that the term Aborigine comes from Latin? Now, what great civilization brought Latin forward? Dr. Ali Muhammad was saying, well, why do they call themselves Africans? Those are the Romans that did that. Family, Latin was the lingua franca of Rome. So he's using another word that comes from the Romans. And we have to be clear that Africa, the actual origin of the term Africa is.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Latin did not start with Rome. Have you ever heard of Punic Latin? That is found here in America, you guys.
Still undecided where it had its origin from. We know that Europeans used it liberally, but that doesn't mean they created it.
1 minute, Jabari.
And so that is something that we need to discuss, contest, and move forward with. Hopefully in the next bit, well, at some point tonight, we'll also begin to talk a little bit more about Africana studies, because I think Dr. Ali Muhammad would also like you to believe that Africana studies was created by Jewish people. And I think that we need to talk about that as well.
All right, powerful, powerful discussion from both of these giants right here. Brother Ali, we ain't gonna waste no time. The time is now 9:42.
Okay.
9:42. I mean 9:52. Go ahead, brother.
All right. So I thank the brother for sharing. But what he shared is a part of the pathology I want to expose completely. When you listen closely to what someone is saying, you can hear the origin of where it comes from. There's even this connotation of how can I put it? Well, I'll just show you. He just showed the word aborigine. Of course, we're speaking the English language, and then we can trace most of these words back to Latin, Spanish, other European Romance languages, etc. But when we're using words, we have substantive meaning to those words. And so I'm going to show you, just by what he did, why we need a different thought inside of our paradigms. And I'm going to use Africa and aboriginal, not aborigine. All right? I'm going to use the word. So take a look at this definition real quick, because I want you to see if I can get it here. I have a problem getting here, but let's see. Can y'all see that?
I can see it.
Okay. So you see the word aboriginal, right? Are we there? Because I can't see y'all.
I can see it.
Okay, great. So let's just look at it. It has in English, which we're using, it has a connotation to be an adjective and a noun as far as parts of speech. Look at what it means. It means inhabiting or existing in a land from the earliest times or from before the arrival of colonists. Semicolon, indigenous. That is very important, because juxtapose that to the word African, it confines you and your origins per se to a particular space. Not only that, when you deal with the legality of the term in the form of what we call just solely. Solely means rights to soil. If I am of European genetic descent, I can still be African. And how am I African? Let me explain. You're African because maybe you were born in South Africa. Your lineage may have been from Europe. You're born in South Africa, you live in South Africa. And so I gave this, and let me read the second definition of this noun, an aboriginal inhabitant of a place. Okay, so now we're dealing with the people of a particular land before the arrival of colonists, indigenous. So now let me come so you can see me, because I want to share something with you. I shared this the last time. I don't know how much plainer I can make this, and this is why we need institutions. I am speaking, what I'm about to speak, from a 10-year institution that we run with our own indigenous lawyers, aboriginal lawyers, to clear up this issue of colonization. Check it out. I was in college in an African American Studies class at Temple University. I was there, and there was a person who looked European to me. She had blonde hair. She played what do you call it?
Couldn't name it again. Anyway, it was field hockey or something. I don't know what it was.
Lacrosse?
Hockey player, lacrosse, something like that. So the young lady was in class arguing that she was African. And she said that because she was born on the land. Now, it is a fact that she had a passport to South Africa, right? She was naturalized in America. So we had this huge argument, right? It was like an ongoing argument, almost a joke in class for maybe like several weeks, because she said that not only was she African, she was African American. And so now, what do these words mean to us in modern times when we're trying to speak to the world and explain something to us? Not just only in our little small groups of people where there might be 10,000 people or 20,000 people understand us. When we speak to a broader context in the world, we want to be clear. She was an African because she was born on the land. When you're born in a space, it makes you indigenous to that particular space. Exactly. I'm glad you made that face. I'm glad you made that face, because now when you have to have a legal conversation with a person like me, and we have to use primary records or primary data, it'll be easy to diffuse that face and make you do this. Agree. Europeans who came to America, right, politically came to America, and their first children who were born on the land, they are now indigenous based on just solely rights. They're not aboriginals, but they are indigenous. They have rights on that soil, brother. And so what I'm trying to say to you is anybody could be an African right now today in the greater context of the world. You have Arabs that consider themselves African, but their lineage goes back to another space. And so what I'm saying is this language is old, is outdated, and it needs a higher form of communication. None of them can be Aboriginal because they're not the first people of that particular land. The Indians that you are citing today, the American Indians, are not the Aboriginal inhabitants of North America, Central America, or South America. They tell you in genetic studies and tracing the line that they came here from other places. And so what the world wants to make you think is that everybody came to America from some other place, and it fits into a larger paradigm called the out of Africa paradigm, which is completely bogus. And I want to talk about that as well tonight. All right. And so when we deal with being Aboriginal, we're talking about the first people of the land. And so your little attempt just now to deconstruct the word Aboriginal exposes that the Pan-African community needs legal scholars who can communicate what these words mean today. If not, your culture is not protecting you. A great part of what I see on the walls.
Can y'all hear loud and clear? Hey, drop some fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear everything loud and clear. Want to make sure everything rocking out. Shout out to all my cousins off in the chat. We got 145 off in this thing. Make sure everybody hit the like button. I would definitely appreciate it with gratitude if everybody was to share this on any social media outlet that they have. Simply copy the link and create a post. I appreciate that, man. Hey, I appreciate all the support. Hey, don't forget to support the channel. Hit the like button. Let me continue this up.
All right. Epigraphy in the temple of Luxor and other temples is the scales of Maya. That's justice. We have judges there, 42 judges, and we have all these things. This means that Kemet ran a legal system, a lawful system. But now that we're Pan-African, we can only defer to a European concept of legal structure.
Hold on, boss. I'm gonna do a whole nother show on this real soon. We're gonna do a whole show of just times we called in, went on Sinetta, different times. We're gonna do all that. We're gonna get into all that information. All right, let's get it.
At what point does the culture that you survive within create its own body politic for real activity? My critique of Pan-Africanism is that it was moved into an academic setting, it lost its grassroots footing, and now the institutions that are supposed to promote a culture for our liberation are now promoting a culture to keep us in the Sunday school class happy about claiming cultures, but never being really able to live by those particular cultures. All right? And so what I'm saying is, the reason why I refer to Elijah Muhammad is because he and the brothers and sisters who helped him are the greatest example in Black history of building institutions and changing the nomenclature. All right? Where did I get the gall to say African is not an applicable term? I got that from the lessons that was given to me from the Nation of Islam. And the question is, why does the devil call our people African? And the question is, okay, if we did not call ourselves that, then these people named us that. And so I heard Jabari say, when we developed the term and we adopted the term, we have never as a people independently adopted the term African for ourselves. That was imposed upon us at different epochs of history. And I can cite those particular histories, and I'm about to do one of them right now. Let me help you. All right? So check this out. Let's go back to this point, because we don't want to lose it. If we lose this point, we're going to fail at getting other points across. I want to be very clear. When he said we don't know the origin of the word African, maybe it's poor reconstruction on his behalf or some other person's behalf. It's very clear where the word African comes from, all right? And we're going to show you. This is not a guessing game. So now what I'm trying to say is only the true autochtons can be Aboriginal. There are no Europeans or Asians who are Aboriginal to the Americas or Africa. They're not. They won't even claim it. But white people will claim to be African. They will claim it. They will claim to be African. They're doing it. All right? Asians are all in Africa now and have been in Africa. So let me share something with you real quick. And this will help this conversation move it into a zone where we really help the audience out to say, listen, if we're going to change the circumstances, of our people, we have to do it with exquisite levels of explanations of things that are before the people. All right, so check this out. I'm gonna read directly from this book. I mean, from this tape. Say it again.
But we're gonna go ahead and get this out.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, so the term afar, sometimes people try to say that the word Africa comes from the afar nowhere near North Africa in the area, and that's not even their indigenous name. All right, so we've been playing this game in Afrocentricity and Pan-Africanism, trying to hold on to a word, but we should hold on to the concepts and the culture and study these terms. All right, and what they mean to our future 100 years from now. The Royal African Society, Oxford Journal, all right, article on the Berbers, and you can, screenshot this so you can see what this is about. What is this about? This is about trying to figure out where the term Africa comes from. And let's just read it. It says, a good deal of interest has been aroused lately in the scientific religious quarters by the important discoveries and researches of Mr. Theodore Bent, Dr. Carl Peters, Professor Keen, and others, which go to identify Ophir and Havilah with the gold-producing district of Mashonaland in South Africa. The name Ophir has been found in Egyptian form Afor, right? This is where you get the Afro-Akat people and Afro-Akat people trying to say, oh yeah, they had it in the hieroglyphics. That particular term had nothing to do with how we're using the term today. And there's no etymology to it, all right? And this later, again, is taken to be the same as Afar, the root of the word Africa. There is no doubt that Africa is the feminine adjective derived from Afar, which occurs in the appellation of the Latin comedian Publius Terentius Afar, so called for his being a native of Tunis. That's in North Africa. Afar was Tunis. which of course was the same as Africanus Proconsularis, the Roman jurisdiction. All right, Tunis came later. The Afrique province was strictly the present regency, and only in modern times has the local designation been applied to other parts, only in modern times, and eventually to the whole continent, not by the Aboriginal population though, by outsiders. All right? But whence came Afur if Ophir and Afur came from it? I know of no other derivation of the term, so I venture to offer the following. The earliest inhabitants of Tunis were cave dwellers. Herodotus in his second book describes the customs and country of these troglodytes, which are basically cavemen, such as they exist in the present day in the mountains on the Tunisian Tripolitan border. Now the principal part of this cave dwelt chain is still called Jebel Yefrim or Jebel Ifrim, from the tribe of the Yefrim or Ifrim who inhabited. According to Berber historian Ibn Khaldun, this tribe dwelt there from time immemorial, and he incidentally mentions that they derived their name from the Berber word Ifri, which signifies a cave. What I'm saying to you is that there were 3 Roman provinces, Africa Nova, Africa Vetus, and Africanus Proconsularis. They used this term from the native Berber population. The native Berber population described the cave-dwelling inhabitants as Ifri. And this is the origin of the word Africa. To end this point, the Byzantines, which is fancy word for the Romans, when they set up forts in this area, they brought their deities in for the soldiers to venerate to go to war against the Aboriginal populations, who we are now calling Africans. So these Aboriginal populations, the first people of that particular land, had the Romans coming against them, and in this particular temple, from this book, North African Stones Speak, page 236, Serapis, Saturn, Diana Augusta, and Dea Africa were in this temple being venerated by these soldiers to go out and kill the Aboriginal population. And when they show pictures of her, this is what she looked like. All I'm saying is the people of Africa are Aboriginal peoples too. They are not Africans. They are Igbo. They are Maasai. They are Ashanti.
All right.
They are all of those things. And what we are doing is we are helping colonization, which is.
Shout out to Janet, the Nubian Queen, for the super chat donation. Definitely appreciate that. She said, Grand Rising, I'm new to the channel. I have been viewing previous videos. Thank you so much for the great work. I greatly appreciate it. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you, sis. I'm glad that you're new to the channel. And if you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. You'll be able to get all your latest content. And hey, I appreciate you humbly. You know what I mean? I'm glad to have you new to this channel, to have a new cousin. You know what I mean? To have a new cousin coming in the chat. So it's good to see you. Shout out to Janet, y'all.
Very, very, very shrewd at now using these terms to defeat us socio-politically and culturally.
All right. Powerful. Put your turn on mute. All right. Powerful, brother Jabari. He just raised the bar. He just raised the bar. So powerful information coming from both of these giants. Let's thumb up the video, y'all. Let's thumb up the video. These brothers took time out to be with y'all.
Give me just a second. I'll be back in like 30 seconds. Give me just a second. I'll be right back.
So let's thumb up, let's like the video. And Brother Jabari, the time is 10:07. 10:07, you got the floor. 10:08, 10:08, you got the floor, Brother Jabari.
Now, I want to be clear. You let him go a long time.
No, I gave him like 4 extra minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I went 13 minutes. I was counting.
That's fine. So I just want to, as long as we're agreeing to latitude, that's fine. So
Yeah, that's cool.
let me say this. Now, first of all, let me do this really quickly. Brother Ali Muhammad would like me not to connect myself to Kemet, an African nation. A nation where, on a landmass that I can draw lineage, but he would rather wear a Native American war bonnet on his shirt. That's what he's doing.
Yo.
That if what I'm doing don't make sense, how does that make sense?
I'm gonna
Wait. I did not interrupt you there, brother.
Excuse me.
Okay, and I want to be clear that
This is when the good part starts. Hey, I do refer the shout out to my brother Dawood, shout out to big brother Dawood with the strong arms. You already know, big flex on him. Hey, but listen, I encourage y'all to send all donations to the cash out. Like I said, YouTube definitely takes 50%, 40% of whatever y'all guys send. All right, so I appreciate all the support, you guys. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Hey, we only got 140 in here. If everybody go and share this on their Instagram and send it out, we can at least get a couple hundred in here. Let's work on that. Let's try to get these likes up.
that is really, really an unusual thing for him to do. A bizarre thing for him to do, and he's even doing it with some basic cultural competence. Native peoples don't like those images he has on his shirt because the European, and I'm gonna call him the European. You know, I usually call him the Tambu, but I'm going somewhere, family. Follow me. The Tamhu, the European, used those images because it depicted a beheaded Native person because they were annihilating those people. So he would wear a war bonnet, but then wants to question whether we have lineage in Kemet. That is ludicrous. And then he makes another really bizarre argument. Family, please follow the logic of his argument because you're going to see that there's very little in it. He makes another very, very poor argument with regard to one white lady he knew in college. One white lady he knew in college who said that she was an African American. Now, let's be clear. She was a citizen of South Africa, according to his story. But when we use the word African, we're saying something else. And Dr. Muhammad knows what we are saying. So while we can agree that she is a citizen of South Africa, to call her an African is something a little different. And I wish that I had access to the 17 or 18-year-old Dr. Ali Muhammad, because I'm going to tell you that 17 or 18-year-old Jabari Osaze would have eaten that Tom Hooverman's lunch and instructed Dr. Ali Muhammad on diffusing such a poor argument that he'd still befuddled with. That's a really, really poor argument. Let's go further here. He wants to contest the word African. Family, please don't get confused with this amazing prestidigitation, this sleight of hand that he's on. One of the reasons why he wants to contest the term African is because if you listen carefully to when Sonetta asked him very carefully, where are you from, brother? Are you saying that regardless of what you call it, whether you call it Africa or you call it banana or you call it gold land, whatever you call it, are you saying that's where you're from? He spent a lot of time, about 5 minutes, saying that he did not believe that he was, because he wants to be part of this nation aboriginal movement. By the way, Africa.
I ain't even gonna lie though. At this particular time in 2018, we had these Pan-Africans hot. And I'm gonna play some video. I'm gonna get into some audio. I'm gonna find all the audio that I can find of us going on their channel. And I'm gonna show you why they was mad. Why they I'm just irritated with this Aboriginal movement. They hate Africa. They were just bad because we weren't African. All that they were trying to take our accomplishments and contributions and give that shit to Africa. Hell nah, that ain't got shit to do with them.
Please make some sense here. Do you know that just a few years ago, the term Aboriginal was considered a pejorative term by all those people that were native to certain parts of the planet? Why are Africans picking up the dredges of other people's movements? Find another word at least. This is pitiful. And
your boy don't even know that the word aboriginal was applied to Americans here in America first. He don't even know that. And I wish Ali Muhammad would have brought it out on this bill, because if I was, Jaboy never wanted to debate me. I'm just letting y'all know he ducked all the way. And I'm gonna get into that too.
And with regard to this whole concept of aboriginal, notice that he gave you a definition, but not an etymology. We're talking about the origin of the term. Show us an etymology, and you will see that is what I showed you, Dr. Ali Muhammad. You can use it generally, but when you're going to call an entire people something, you need to have a little bit more sense about it. Don't just pick up a definition from Google and say that's what we should call ourselves. Really, what's happened here is Dr. Ali Muhammad is trying to move himself away from that continent that we generally refer to as Africa. And I can play the clip, if you'd like, of him responding to Sonnetter. But let's be clear that, brother, we need to bring you back home. You've lost your way on this one. I respect you, but I really want to say respectfully, you've lost your way on this one. Let's go further. Now, let me say to you that I have already acknowledged that the term African is one that we are not clearly able to posit an origin to. By the way, he would like to just show you the Oxford Dictionary for the description of African. That was bizarre. He's speaking ill of the European, but he would only use the European for the definition of where it comes from? That's odd. This comes from South Africa. By the way, Africans don't call themselves African, so why do they name their place South Africa? This is light work. I travel extensively in Africa. I am part of Pan-African and indigenous, I'm using that term here.
That nigga King Kamehameha Pan-African Kemet Lord, nigga.
African groups. And of course, people on the continent call themselves African. Where do we get this idea of that people on the continent don't call themselves that? Now, I'm going to say to you very clearly, do they also talk about their ethnic group? Of course they do. Listen, we have people who are citizens of the United States from the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico who live in the United States, live in New York, and they call themselves Nuyorican. They're not saying they're not Puerto Ricans. They're saying, well, my experience in New York has some ways changed.
I never heard nobody say I'm a New Yorker. What the fuck he just said? That's some shit he just made up. I swear on my soul, that nigga made that up.
The way I view the world. It's fine to say I don't take any enmity if you call yourself an African American. Our people died in this country. Our people built this nation. By calling yourself African does not diffuse your claim to the United States. We are the people that created this nation. I'm a citizen of the United States.
He really believed within his little soul, within his little African heart. He believed in his cotton-picking mind that his ancestors literally built America. This shit is sad, y'all.
And I'm not giving it up easily either because of what my people did for it. So let's take a quick look at what we see here on South Africa Online. Now, right off the bat, it says the exact origins of the word Africa are contentious, but there is much about its history that is known. And they even here say to you that it was first used by the Romans to describe that part of the Carthaginian Empire, which is in present-day Tunisia. They're talking about what we can see written. That's what they're saying. This is what I call, as a trained historian, the error of the historian. Sometimes we believe if we can't see something written, it didn't exist. We don't know why they called it that. Carthage was a powerful nation in and of itself. They didn't just change the name of Carthage. There are so many different ways that we can try to come to an understanding of the way that this term comes. So even, let's look here. You can even say that they're talking about the fact that it's possible that they were talking about a free or a far people. We don't know exactly where it comes from. But let's say something really carefully here. I am willing to find a name that better describes the continent, but not at this time. The masses of our people are still learning that they're Africans, coming from that continent that Dr. Ali Muhammad seemed to dither on when Sanetta was trying to give him to try to explain where his people come from. He did that. He said, "I'm in America, so that's who I am." That's what he said. So let's be really clear that he is trying not to describe himself from that continent, because he'd like to say he's an aboriginal. That's what he's doing. So let me show you something else that we really need to talk about here really quickly. I want us to understand that we have to, whatever we do, we must be strategic. Now, I know this is coming from Wikipedia, but I think it still makes the point pretty well. I want you to understand that one of the most important international global collaboratives is what we call the European Union. It is made up of 28 states. And one of the reasons why it was created is because those people in that area that we sometimes call Europe were fighting each other for over 1,000 years. It led to the death of millions and millions of people. So they said, let's come together so that we can control the world. And today we see the European Union. I want you to take a look at this. The GDP of the European Union is 21.7 trillion. And altogether, all of the people of the European Union, all of the people that are in those 28 nations make up about, I think it's 500 million people. Well, family, the continent of Africa makes up over 1 billion people. Why is it that we are comfortable with the Tamhu, I'm gonna call them now the European, calling themselves a European, but you're not comfortable calling yourself an African?
All right, Brother Jabari. Brother Jabari, you are now into your extra 3 minutes, brother.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
Especially when, and here's something that I think Dr. Ali Muhammad has to understand.
I hit that like button if y'all can hear everything loud and clear. Smack that like button, man. I want to say, let me shout out to the Cash Out folks real quick. Let me shout them out. Let me shout out Gerald Wilson for the Cash Out donation. Gerald Wilson, and who the other person? Let me see. And David Oliver. Shout out Gerald Wilson and David Oliver. I appreciate this Cash Out donation. Hey, don't leave my brothers out there be the only one to support the channel, man. We lit in here. Shout out to all my cousins in here.
And recognize, especially when, do you see this? Do you know who this is? This is the goddess known as Europa. Europa is Carthaginian. She is a goddess, listen carefully, family, from Northern Africa. So I want you to understand that the European has named themselves after something that is not European.
Nigga, what is the northern part of Africa? What is the most northern region that we would call of the continent of Africa? Ain't that Europe, nigga? If you go right above north of Africa, the northern part of Africa, above Egypt, nigga, that's Europe.
Does it matter to them? Are they not controlling the world? Let's be strategic, Dr. Ali Muhammad. When we come together as a global African people, then we'll have our consensus on what term we will use. But I want to say that Dr. Ali Muhammad is not doing that. Instead, he would like for you to get together with a word that is so confused, indigenous. By the way, in aboriginal, which even in his definition says people who are...
Your boy, you say my name? You say aboriginal? What's up, cuz? What, you want that smoke, nigga?
Before the colonialists. So by his definition, the Tamil woman in South Africa is not African. You're all over the place here. Either you're going to use the definition or you're not going to use the definition. So let us be very clear, family. We have a lot of work to do as a global African people. And as long as we allow some people to confuse us, to throw us off our game. We're going to be fighting for the crumbs of the United States, and we're going to forego the most opulent landmass on the planet. The landmass that
his choices of words is very on point though. He uses a wide variety of vocabulary that he inserts into his conversation.
has all of the resources, the best climate, and in fact is where the origin of all humanity comes from. So to say African is to say that you are the original person. That's what it means. Let's be very clear about this and use it to our benefit, family. If we don't, then what we're doing is we are continuing to cede power to the Tambu. And I know that that is not what Brother Ali wants to do, but I think he needs to reevaluate the decision that he is making. Thank you.
1 minute. All right. Now we got you started off. Put it on mute, brother. Brother Jabari started off the conversation, so we're going to have to let Dr. Ali Muhammad close out, and then I want to open it up for both of you brothers to have a discourse amongst each other.
Can I say something, Saad?
Yes,
we're talking about one part of this, but there are really 3 points. I want us to get to those other 3 points. We have to talk about Africana studies. Dr. Ali Muhammad said some really bizarre things about Africana studies.
All right. Hold on. We're going to get to it.
Africana studies.
We're going to get to it right now. Let me let Dr. Ali Muhammad get his last 10 minutes, and then we're going to switch subjects. All right, brother. Dr. Ali, the time is 10:21. Let's go.
Hey, before we get into this, I want to say peace and love to all my cousins tapping in. Make sure y'all hit that like button. And shout out to Kashmir Abdullah Willis for the super chat donation. Shout out to Kashmir Abdullah Willis. He put the 100 emojis in there. Shout out to that brother, man. I definitely appreciate that. Humbly, bro. I appreciate that. And it's good to see you in the chat. I don't think I've seen you in the chat too much. Appreciate to you, man. Good to see you here.
All right. Brother Jabari, I am... Okay, so I see what's happening. You're doing something that Polite tried to do to me in the debate. You tried to do some quick Googling to catch me into something for wearing this right here, right? To insinuate that it's anti-African, but yet I'm confused about what I'm wearing. So y'all should not trust Ali because he doesn't even know that this was only worn as a war bonnet by beheaded Indians.
Could you stand up so we can see it?
Yeah. Stand up.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so now the origin of wearing a feathered headdress, all right, is not a war bonnet. And see, this is why when we are fed in a war strategy, fed
Kill him, Ali Muhammad.
a culture that we do have cultures that we do have a connection to, but the European is the primary interpreter of how we're going to eat that cultural sandwich. We are going to get diarrhea, constipation, and all types of other symptomatic problems mentally when it comes to how we should educate. That was a gross error on your behalf. And the gross error on your behalf, which I'm about to expose very quickly, is symptomatic of Pan-Africans who know nothing about the Western Hemisphere's history and its Aboriginal inhabitants, exclusively because academia has made it something that we should not even have to look at. The answers are already given. So let me help you out, Brother Jabari, and correct you on that blatant flop. All right? Let me help you out. All right. So you should be able to see this, right? You should be able to see this. The origin of wearing what you're calling a war bonnet has nothing to do with anything but indigenous culture. This particular chief in the classical period in Bonpec, and this was left on the walls there. These are the people. These are not Mexicans that you see in Mexico today. According to anthropologists, all of these people with locks and other even cranial deformation, which was practiced in classical civilizations and kings. This is all the way up the ocean now with this cranial deformation and other attributes. The focus is this. This is our war bonding, brother. Okay? This is Kukulkan. Kukulkan later in Aztec history became Quetzalcoatl. And when we deal with who Kukulkan is,
let's go.
We have to know indigenous tradition.
Hey, he going in. He fucking Jabari up on these headdresses. Do you understand that? He's fucking him up. He said, yeah, you ain't supposed to be wearing no headdress. Look at Quetzalcoatl right there. Kukulkan.
There's not one person who is in these tribes today when you go through these areas and areas I've been to myself, who knows the real meaning of Kukulkan. In order to know that, you have to have a primary source, right? Good anthropology, all right? Or you have to be favored to understand the basis of all Aboriginal culture, which is nature and astronomy. Kukulkan, the feathered.
Shout the Jaguar. To understand your cultures, you must understand your nature, ecology, and astronomy. This is how you get earth mounds, right? That's ecology, earth mounds that is celestially aligned with events that happen in the sky that plays a part in how it affects you on earth. See, these are the things you got to understand. This is true Aboriginal science. They call it masonry in a watered down version now. And all they do is just talk about your history and memorize your history. Y'all get it.
Serpent is a constellation in the sky. And the Ahau, chief.
You hear what he said? The serpent constellation in the sky. And the Ahau is what they would have called it. Now, it's not ironic that Ahau is also the same word as Ohio. Ohio and Ahau is the same word. It's the same thing. It means the same thing. And what do you find in Ohio dealing with our culture? The serpent mound, the snake in the sky. Even though it's not in the sky, the what's on the ground plays to how it affects the sky. Winter solstice hit the tip of the snake head every year. The summer solstice hit the tip of the snake head every year.
Wear this as a sign of his initiation into those particular studies. I am not wearing a war bonnet. I am wearing a symbol of a constellation. And so let me go further. So that's done. These are not Mexicans, even though they're in North America. We'll go further with this, but let me come off of this and show you something that's very, very important to this concept of we built great structures and pyramids in Egypt and other things. First of all, I never said or tried to disconnect you from Kemet. That's not what I'm doing. What I said is African Americans, according to Pan-African and geneticists, and when they merged, Amun-Ra Squad, other people, Team Osiris, according to what I've heard from them and according to what I know that's coming from geneticists, African Americans are primarily West and West Central in origin. It does not mean that they cannot practice the cultures of Kemet and Nubia and East African cultures, right? Because they see themselves as Pan-African. And so that's fine. I am simply saying that is not your lineal people. It does not divorce you from having the ability to adopt those cultures. There are some African Americans who are Buddhists. I'm pretty sure they're not saying that they have lineage because they're people with dark skin in India. I think they embrace Buddhism because they like yoga and the peace of it and other things. And so when African Americans embrace Kemet, they're embracing a classical civilization on a continent that they have connected themselves. All right?
Even though genetically and lineage wise, they're not connected to these people. And we're getting to who the Egyptians are genetically and lineage connected to.
Pretty sure the Akan during their contemporary period, right, were not wearing arms because they had a relative culture. Post-slavery, we do these things because it's an opportunity for us to connect with a concept that we have created. And so all I'm saying is, brother, you're wrong on the headdress. Stay away from Aboriginal anthropology until you take a course in Aboriginal University with us or a mainstream university so that you can actually understand the material. My next sharing with you is this. Where are we right now? I've been to the top of this pyramid several times, all right? This is in North America. This pyramid is in North America. Now, who built it? Why did they build it? Did some Eurasians build this pyramid? Do they have the history and the discussion of where it gets very vague, right? But I'm only showing you this because you mentioned monuments and Kemet and other things, all right? African Americans' descendants did not build the pyramids in Egypt. We visit them as tourists. This pyramid is highly likely that your direct ancestors built it, and we go all the way across the Atlantic before we even go to a place that's relatively close. The flight is probably about 5 hours. This is the Teotihuacan complex. That very picture that I showed you from Bonham Peck is a part of a mega group of Aboriginal people who are responsible for all these monuments. These people are being shuffled under the rug so that you will not know the global presence of Aboriginal peoples. Now, let me go further. Let me come off of this and go further. Because I'm dealing with concepts and I'm dealing with Europeans who are very, very shrewd. Not only are they shrewd, they mock us. They mock us because they know we don't know the power of words. The power of words. Jabari, I have heard that you are a priest. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
And you study the indigenous languages in Africa, Medu Neter and others. Do you do that?
Say again, I'm sorry.
You study the indigenous languages of Africa, the Medu Neter? Okay, great. So you know the power of words, brother.
Absolutely.
If they're in African language, American language, etymology, you just mentioned that. Check this out. I have to share this with you. You just said that you're a Pan-African, right? And many of us say it. And I know what you mean when you say that. But you don't know what you mean when you say that. I show you that you don't know what you mean because there's no way you would name yourself a Pan if you knew this.
Oh, shit.
Pan is a Greek god of the most freakish, weird, homosexual thing. Like, are you gonna name your child Pan? Like, this is Pan Inyame. This is Pan Neter. Nobody with sense is going to do that because they're going to say, well, where does this name come from? Because we as indigenous people named our children because the name was supposed to imprint some type of or reflect the energy of the birth of that child. We are walking around calling ourselves Pan, a Greek god of homosexuality, and Africa, a white goddess. And we're saying we want to unite the world, and we can't even get to the point.
Shout out to my big brother, Chief Holiday, for the Cash App donation. Man, shout out to my brother, said for holding it down. Love you, big bro. Love you too, big bro. Keep doing what you doing, man. Keep doing, keep grinding, keep working. You know what I'm saying? Boots on the ground for real. Shout out to my brother, Chief Holiday. Hey, make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 175 in here. It's lit. You already know how Copper Grizzly do it. Big Aboriginal power, man. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Make sure y'all share this on all the support. Shout out to all my cousins, man. Y'all the realest, man. Let's keep this thing going.
And we recognize, like, yo, we're being insulted, and now by default, generationally, we're insulting ourselves, and we consider ourselves academics.
1 minute, Dr. Ali.
And so let me come off of that. Because that's actually a trivial point, but it's important. The last thing that I want to share with you is this. We know we're all from Africa. We don't stay up on the latest information. See, when you subscribe to something from the white man, you better do it all the way, because When I say subscribing to something from the white man, I don't mean divorce it because he's white. What I mean is look into it very closely. And what I'm about to show you is what you should look into very closely. This is the latest information on the out of Africa theory. A phylogenetic view of the out of Asia, Eurasia, and out of Africa hypothesis in light of recent molecular and paleontological finds. The substantiability of the out of Africa hypothesis was addressed in light of recent genomic analysis of extant humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, and progress in Neanderthal paleontology. The examination lent no support to the commonly assumed out of Africa scenario, but favored instead a Eurasian divergence between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens sapiens, and an out of Asia Eurasian hypothesis according to which all other parts of the world. So they're saying now, they've been working on this for a long time. They already said the oldest hominid is in Europe. Look at what they're saying now. Let me show you the map. This is the current map. The current map is they started out in Eurasia, and the Khoisan, the Mbuti, and the Yoruba came, and Neanderthal. So now this is there is no
Could you that source?
Say it again.
Could you give me the source?
Absolutely. Let me scroll to the source so you can see it. 04 Artisan.
All right, it's time, Ali.
Okay, well, he asked me a question. Let me give like 10 seconds.
Go ahead, brother.
Right. So what I'm saying with this is we're outdated. I don't agree with this at all. But you agree with evolutionary biology as it's being taught because you believe in the out of Africa theory. They're going to change this on you. They already did it. And so what I'm saying to you, brothers and sisters, is you better build institutions to do real peer reviews, because what is happening is the same thing. They swept the Aboriginal thing under the rug because they didn't want you to know that you are the autochtons of this particular land. And now they're saying the out of Africa theory is bogus, that you're a...
And if any of you guys, I did drop in a couple bills ago, I dropped the PDF of the Out of Africa Theory Debunked, the PDF. I did drop that. I hope some of you guys got that. It's sourced the fuck up with all the top genetics, all the top anthropologists and everything in that particular source to put in an actual scientific journal report to put together that PDF. So go check it out, you guys, if y'all did get that.
Asiatic.
All right, family. Wow. Damn. Powerful right there. We never seen Floyd Mayweather stagger in the ring, but I don't know. He might have Floyd Mayweather on the ropes. And
the only reason why I'm staggering is because I'm laughing.
Floyd Mayweather. Hold on. Floyd Mayweather trying to throw the jab.
Hey, shout out to my other guy in the building, man. Really one of the OGs in the community, man. Real shit. Shout out to my big brother, nonetheless, man, for the cash out donation, man. I really appreciate that. Man, I appreciate that, man. Some of the day ones showing up today, man. I definitely appreciate the support. Hey, man. Hey, if y'all want to support, the link is on the chat. Hey, the super chat is available. But most important thing y'all can do is hit that like button and to share this on all your social media outlets. I appreciate everybody for coming through.
Get Ali off, but come on, man. What do y'all want to do? Brother Jabari, do you want to go into the question and switch it up now? Or would you like Dr. Ali Muhammad to go first and switch it up to the next topic?
I want to respond to what he said.
What do you think, Ali?
Oh, yeah, I have no problem with how we carry on.
All right, now look, Jabari.
If he responds to what I said,
yeah, then that's going to let Ali have to come back with another one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. So, Brother Jabari, in responding, let's go to 5 minutes now. Okay, is that good?
Okay, that's good.
Okay, 5 minutes in your rebuttal. Then we're going to give Ali 5 minutes, and then we're going to switch off to the next topic. The time is 10:35. You got the floor, brother.
Family, you have to hear that the pseudo scholarship that we just heard. What? He tried to connect the word pan with the deity.
Hey, can y'all hear me loud and clear? I just want to make sure we loud and clear in here, man. If y'all can hear me loud and clear, drop some fire emojis real quick. I'm about to drop the link to the PDF, the Out of Africa Theory Debunked. I'm about to drop that link right now, so make sure y'all get that. I want all the support, man. I'm about to give y'all the book. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to give y'all a fire-ass book, so let me get in here and drop this in here for you. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. I'm sorry to stop the bill like that, but shit. Matter of fact, what we'll do is give me a quick 30 seconds as I drop this book. I'll be right back with you guys. All right, we back. Make sure y'all drop some fire emojis. Y'all can hear me loud and clear. I'm gonna continue this thing out. Let's keep this thing cracking.
And why? Because they sound similar. He didn't show you any etymological basis for that. Just because they sound similar, there are a lot of words that sound similar. So you tell me that when people in Latin America say that pan is also a word for bread, they're talking about a deity? Come on, brother. Just because two words don't sound the same, you have to do more work than that. You can't just show us a deity and say, when I say I'm a Pan-African, I'm talking about Pan the deity? That's ridiculous. That type of scholarship does not belong not only in the university, it doesn't even belong on the street corner. That's really, really poor. And then he shows us a bunch of pyramids.
That nigga throwing shots like a motherfucker at it. Tell the truth, he throwing big shots.
And I want to be very clear, family. Some people get confused about this. We see pyramids or Merkuti all over the world, right? In many places. The oldest ones that are true Merkuti are in Africa.
You hear that? This is what we were supposed to have a debate on. Who has the most pyramids, the oldest pyramids, and the largest pyramids? When he did not want to debate after we exchanged sources. And we're gonna get into that to build on another number, show all the builds and interactions with us from the from out the Aboriginal community going against the Pan African community. You know, brothers like Ab TV, Chief Holiday, and Tonchin is one, me myself, and other brothers. You know what I'm saying? Going at it. That's really all I could think of that was really going at it. But
we need to do much more work to prove that these great Africans traveled around the world long before the who did. That doesn't mean that we have our origin in America. That's not what that means. It means that Africans made great journeys. That's what that means. And so I want you to really hear that showing me a pyramid. I don't even know why he showed the pyramid. I don't even know what was the point of that. I've been to the top of that Merkuti as well. Maybe you think that because I think I'm an African, I don't look at what our children have done around the world. I travel extensively. I've been there. Well, what does that mean? What? Because you can see one there. The oldest one is in Africa. That would actually seem to posit that particular period. I'm going to show you an image from my book, 7 Little White Lies: A Conspiracy to Destroy the Black Self-Image. That would seem to posit that Africans were the ones that made those early journeys. This is the first Merkut, the first pyramid, created by an African by the name of Djoser and designed by his architect, Imhotep. That is what he should be showing you. Just because Africans made journeys, what does that have to do with anything? Just showing me another one doesn't mean that we didn't come from Africa. By the way, here's the other thing that I think we need to also refute very quickly. He also seems to argue, and I'm confused by the logic of some of these arguments. I'm really confused by it. That because we see people that look like us all over the world, that maybe we didn't come from Africa. He shows you one source that shows you that they want to argue that our genes that the first people come from elsewhere. I'm going to tell you, family, I don't even know how to respond to that adequately, because any of you could do just a simple Google search for human migrations, and you will see that the overwhelming,
not overwhelming. If you get the PDF population bottlenecks it explains this, and it doesn't really talks about Africa, talks about other continents, going into other places, and I can drop that PDF if you want that too. I got the population bottleneck PDF if you want that too, by all the top geneticists.
Overwhelming consensus of scholarly fields is that Africans were the original people, and we had our origin out of Africa. I can show you sources until next week, one by one by one by one. Here's one human human migration map. And how are they able to do this? What they're able to do is look at the DNA of peoples and look to see what the mutations do, so that we know that people that are in Central East Africa have the complete complement of human traits. That's what we see. And that people in other places seem to have fewer of those human traits, which posits genetically that they are people that came later. This is the map of human migrations. Family, you need to understand that people got to North America most recently. Is Dr. Ali?
That's not true. As a matter of fact, in California, they found evidence of humans in America going back 132,000 years ago, which is 50,000 years before people migrate. 50,000 years before people popped up in Australia, and also 40,000 years before people popped up in Europe. So this is long before anybody migrated, quote unquote, out of Africa. You find people in the Americas, okay, in California.
Muhammad stealing tens of thousands, no, hundreds of thousands of years from you, African? Is that what he is doing? I don't know if he realizes that what he's doing, but he's too smart not to have done this research. He's too smart. He shows me one source. By the way, I had to ask him what the source was. You can go to any source. There are studies on human placentas all over the world. There was a major study that came out that was released in Newsweek magazine. This is one of the first studies publicly available, where they looked at thousands of human placentas around the world. And they were able to say, 1 minute, the women that all of the people in the world have their origin, have a one African mother. Family, if you are unfamiliar with this theory, look for the theory of the mitochondrial Eve. You can do that with DNA now. What is he looking at? Where is he getting this backwater stuff? We're not going to even go into his ridiculous assertions in front of Ankh. Ankh was laughing at you, brother, about Africa, that Europeans are now saying that they came first because darker skin was a later evolution. He mangles that whole argument badly. The logic of these arguments is lacking greatly. And you need, family, to follow them carefully, because he is stealing away from you the landmass with all the resources, the landmass with the longest history, and the landmass with the best climate for a place like the United States. You better understand, family, that you are the oldest people on the planet. The entire world is yours, but Africa is where it has its roots.
All right, powerful right there. Jabari coming back with the goddamn rope-a-dope, baby. That's what I'm talking about. All right, Ali, your last 5 minutes, and then we're going to switch it up, my brothers.
Okay.
The time is now 10:42. Let's go.
All right. So I'm not even sure what he was. I'm not even sure what was said, but I'm just going to keep moving. All right. So the math thing, see, this is like, okay, what references is he using? I'll use this article that Ankh mangled and tried to disrespect Dane Calloway when Dane Calloway was actually right, and Ankh tried to do his two-step. So if you're watching Ankh, you're just gonna get exposed by default.
All
right. So check this out. So I'm looking at that. Look, where am I at? Bam. Okay. All right. Okay. This was National Geographic. He just showed a map of humans dispersing 100,000 years or so, a little more ago, from Africa, right? According to your scientists that y'all trust, they found humans 130,000 years ago in California. I did not Photoshop this. That is actual National Geographic letterhead. I'll take the news article, edit, and copy it and post it into the chat just for the sake of, you know.
Wait, can you put that back on the screen?
I am. I just posted into the chat and I'm going back. All right, I'm going to stop there so you can see it. All right. All right. And so now this article that mangled.
Hey, give me just a second. I'm gonna come back. Let me fix my audio. I'll be right back in 30 seconds. Give me just a second.
That humans were in California 130,000 years ago. What we need to understand is that there is even a war amongst Europeans. That war is when they come out with data that goes against the politically driven science of Europeans, that is based on the law that we must colonize based on the strategy that we laid out. When even one of their own come, who are credentialed by them, and step outside of that particular box, do you know what happens? They get ostracized. Even the white people who want to tell the truth get ostracized. So what are Homo sapiens sapiens, which Amstrad the Mango, doing in California 130,000 years ago? If African people all of a sudden just decided to walk up out of heaven in Africa with all the resources and to start walking into cold places with no resources. I mean, we got to think about this. Let me get off the academics for a second and just give me 30 seconds on this. What fool is going to leave a plush environment for a worse environment? What spawned these particular migrations? Now, when you get deep into genetics, which I can hear Jabari, at least in just research, has not, Europeans started talking about genetic bottlenecks and the whole thing unravels. And what is a genetic bottleneck? A genetic bottleneck.
Y'all just heard what I told y'all right before he said this, right? And I ain't heard this build in years, but once you understand the information, what you're talking about, and what we're talking about is fact. Once you get into the DNA and once you get into migrations, once you get into connections by haplogroup or genetic sequences, right, you're gonna have to deal with the Americas. And the reason why is because they're not equating for a migration out of the Americas.
Is when a population, for some purpose, environmentally, shrinks down to a very small number of people. And from that small shrinkage, when they have the intermating, the mating going on, you start to get not just mutations, benign mutations. Because other than, if you don't say benign mutations, you're going to start to say, the white man is just a light-skinned African. No, he is not. Or a light-skinned African. No, he is not. He is a benignly mutated specimen. And that needs to be highlighted. I highlighted that when I was on with Ankh, and I used very specific data. Genes from Neanderthal, actinic keratosis, still found in Europeans today. Those are benign diseased mutations. And so our concept of what a mutation is thrown off because he is skillful at hiding himself, he being the Eurasian. And so this find right here, I'm just going to go down to read a piece of it, where he starts talking about Homo erectus. Give me a moment. All right. Okay. Well, that sounds more promising. So if the authors are right, is it possible I'm related to the to these ancient Macedonian miners. Maybe. Although, even if the interpretation holds up, it's unlikely that the tool bearers were anatomically modern humans. They're saying, no, they weren't modern humans. So what were they? At present, there's no evidence that Homo sapiens sapiens left Africa earlier than 120,000 years ago. So now let me show you what they're trying to do. They're trying to say these people were not African.
Now you said that no Neanderthals haven't left Africa at this particular time, and that's a fact. Because listen, in America, I just told you, at 130 some thousand years ago, in California, they find human presence. So that's just to add on to what the brother's saying.
They were possibly some other group.
No, that is not what that says.
No, it is. Homo sapiens, let me read it slowly. At present, there's no evidence that Homo sapiens sapiens left Africa earlier than 120,000 years ago. Is that not what it's saying? That's what it's saying. Okay, so let's keep reading. But at least 4 sister species were living in East Asia around the time, and 3 would be contenders for crossing into the Americas. All right.
Hey, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Everybody that sent the request to the book or for the Out of Africa book, go check your emails. I sent y'all another link to that shared it. I had to give y'all access because a lot of niggas be acting like they just be having these sources, man. And so now I got my library set up, man. You can't come get no books unless you ask me, man. A lot of niggas be stealing like they been had these shits. So yeah, y'all got them now, man. Y'all got access to them now, man. So check them out. Go check the emails now.
The 4th and the 3 are.
Make sure y'all support the channel, man. I'm giving y'all some books, man. Giving y'all some sources. I know y'all be having these arguments. Some of y'all brothers be on IG going back and forth with Pan Africans. Hey, just gonna give them that source and beat them down.
Homo neanderthalis, Homo denisovans, and then Homo florencensis. All right, the much ballyhooed hobbits of Indonesian island of Flores, but they're probably not involved. Let's keep going. Might the tool users have been Homo erectus, our direct ancestors and the earliest known fire starters? What about Homo neanderthalensis, which had made it to present Kazakhstan around the time of the activity at Saruti? Or could they have been Denisovans, the enigmatic East Asian group known from DNA samples collected in a Russian cave? Now, the reason why I had to read that is because this is 130,000 years ago, but there's a problem. There's a problem.
Time.
Oh, bro, let me get this last point in.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Look, my last point in this is, what they're doing is they're covering up the exploration of the original people in these areas. What the end game is this: we do not want original people, so-called Africans, who I'm calling aboriginal, to know that the out of Africa thesis was something that we developed to hide how they peopled the planet. And I'm going to close when we come back to me on that particular point.
Hey, for those that sent requests and that went and checked your email, drop a fire emoji with the strong arm behind it to let me know that y'all got the book. Drop a fire emoji with the flex arm to let me know that y'all got it. That'll let me know that y'all got it.
All right, man. Hey, first of all, I wanna commend both of you brothers. I want to commend both of you brothers on this powerful information. This is the way debates and discussions are supposed to be handled. Without the going at each other, getting personal. I respect both of you brothers for.
So I never spoke too soon because it's about to get personal.
Giving the people this knowledge and this information, man. That's what I'm talking about. So, Brother Jabari, I'm going to give you 10 minutes, brother, because we're going to switch it up.
Brother, listen.
Hey, hold on, Jabari.
I'm chopping at the bit, son.
I dropped the book. I dropped the link in the chat. I will be dropping the Out of Africa Theory Debunk PDF again. Give me just a second. In about 20 minutes. and I'll drop it again. It took a long time just answering and sending out requests. So give me a second. I will be dropping that again for you guys that just now coming in to get that. Shout out to the brother Akeem T. I appreciate the super chat donation. I really do, man. Shout out to your brother, man. Hey, make sure you call me too, man. Call me when you get a chance, big bro. Make sure you call me ASAP. Shout out to everybody, man. Let's get it. Let's continue this out.
Hold on. What you can do until 10 minutes is you can take maybe the first 3 minutes and answer some of what he did, and then switch off into the next topic. And that's how we get into the next topic. Exactly. You can probably give him 5 minutes of what he said and switch it right up. All right? The time is, Jabari, 10:50 is on you, brother.
Now, let me say something. Dr. Ali Muhammad, you have a doctorate. Brother, did you not read? Reading is fundamental. Why, family, why did he just show you that? That impeaches everything he said tonight. Shouldn't I have given you that article? He's giving you stuff that supports me. The article I want you to read. I'm going to share my screen and show you the same article he's reading. This says, very carefully, humans in California 130 years ago, get the facts. A new study has dropped a bombshell on archaeology.
Hey, I want to reiterate again for those that's just tapping in. If y'all are not following me on Instagram, hey, that goes down on Instagram. All kind of Pan-African, other Native American trolls come to the channel. We bang it out with them. It's an intimate session. We get to get into some information. It's a little more up close build. Hey, make sure y'all go follow me on Instagram at big_aboriginal_power. All right, I'm gonna say it again. Go follow me at Instagram at big_aboriginal_power. Man, I appreciate everybody for tapping in.
Claiming, first of all, you should understand what the word claiming they're saying. Something is fishy here. Signs of human activity in the Americas far earlier than thought. You have to understand that what is being said here is not that they're saying that these people had their origin here. The very thing that may be rewritten, and I'm going to show you why it probably isn't, is that people left Africa earlier than expected. That is the argument being made. That's the argument. It has nothing to do with saying that people had their origin in the Americas. Brother, you said you've done genetic studies. You said you studied history, but you can't read a simple article. It's not even a scholarly article. It's on National Geographic. What are you doing? By the way, also understand that there were no human bones found at the site. What they're looking at is tools. What do people do with tools? By the way, I have a 4-story brownstone. And if you just look around at my brownstone, I got a hacksaw here. Maybe the hacksaw had its origin here. No, I carried it upstairs because it's useful to me. That's what I did. Isn't that what everybody does? Just because you see very early tools somewhere, that doesn't mean that human beings actually were there much earlier.
Nigga, he said just because you see tools doesn't mean it means humans was there. Nigga, get your slow ass out of here.
Beings had their origin there. It likely means that it was carried there, and that is the very argument that is being made there. So,
but when you get into all the metal and tool making, and the first people to do it in the world was in America, then it coincides with the first tools and shit being in America, not coming to America, idiot.
Perhaps these humans that came here brought the tools from an ancient site with them. That is the easiest argument. I can't even understand that he doesn't see that. Let me read to you what it says, because I don't want you to think that I'm saying that. That's what they're saying. Okay, what is the new evidence being presented? It says here, there's also the matter of stone's placement. The site was entombed in siltstone, a type of sedimentary rock that forms from fine-grained sediments, the sort that would settle only out of very slow-moving, low-energy water. But one of the boxes is around 30 pounds. What they're trying to say to you is, did water in that area, it's not an ocean, carry something that was 30 pounds? One is roughly 30 pounds. If water didn't move the rocks there, then perhaps people carried it to the site.
Yeah, Simone, that boy was drinking booty juice out of can. Mm-hmm. He is intoxicated.
Did you read the article? Because you're missing it. Sounds intriguing. Why are other experts so skeptical? He didn't read you that point. The article impeaches his arguments. How could he possibly not read the article as well?
They just recently put out a scientific journal report on this particular thing. So at this point, it was only from different archaeologists and skeptics had put out National Geographic articles, but the actual scientific journal report just became recent here soon, and I have that.
I don't understand why he did that. He's helping me. He's not helping himself. Even if we believe that those tools are actually as old as they are, it actually might mean, at the very best, the most charitable argument is that people left Africa earlier. This article does not argue that they had their origin here. The whole article is, well, maybe they left earlier. It's not impossible that human history in the Americas is older than currently thought, says Southern Methodist University archaeologist, National Geographic grantee David Meltzer, an expert on early Americans. But to prove it, you cannot take broken bones and nondescript stones to make the case without demonstrating that nature could not have broken these bones and modified these stones.
Sister Janet, I got you, sister. Anybody who would need later on, get the PDF, just send them. I check my email periodically. Here lately, I have been, you know what I mean, trying to stay on it for you guys. And so I get to it as quick as possible.
There's a lot of issues with this. Listen, this brother will give you one source that is really bizarre and try to make a really large argument. No one that has any scholarly metal would make the arguments that he's making. Please recognize that there's a lot of problems with virtually everything that he has said. Don't let him get away with this.
All right. At 5 minutes, Jabari, you want to
the final piece on this. Well, that sounds promising. So if the authors are right, is it possible related to these ancient mastodon miners? Maybe, although if the interpretation holds up, it's unlikely that tool bearers were anatomically modern humans. At present, there's no evidence that Homo sapiens left Africa earlier than 100.
So he's saying that if it was humans that made these tools, it would have been anatomically not modern humans, meaning dumb humans, Neanderthals, stick slappers. You understand me? That's some bullshit.
$20,000 years ago. So what they're saying is that maybe some of the earlier species left Africa earlier. That's why they said there's 4 sister species living in East Africa and crossing into the Americas. The only argument they're making is maybe Africans left the continent earlier. That's the argument of the article. That's the argument. You need to go to a college level reading course because this article is clear. Now, let me shift gears briefly. Here. I want to go ahead, let me do this very quickly. I want to go ahead and show you a few other things. Because Dr. Ali Muhammad also said some things about Africana studies, the field that I got my joint degree in. And I got my joint degree at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. Cornell University is the oldest Africana center in the country. He also tried to make you think that Jews created it. I mentioned Herskowitz. Now listen, here's a loving critique. Often people in the Nation of Islam or from that tradition posit that Jews do everything evil in the world. Well, family, there's enough Tomhu that have done all kinds of other African things in the world. It doesn't have to be Jews. So he thinks that he just mentions Jews and you're supposed to say, wow, Jews started that. That is not the case. This is just a simple Google search. Did you use Wikipedia? Please. Look, read right here. The first Africana Studies Department was formed after the Willard Straight Hall takeover at Cornell University, an Ivy League school located in Ithaca, New York. If Dr. Ali Muhammad can't do a simple Google search before he comes in front of our family and makes horrible assertions, then he should take his scholar card back to where he got it from, because that is not scholarly. Here's the book that was written on my closest mentor, Discourse on Africa Studies, James Turner and Paradigms of Knowledge. This is a book on how this man was seminal to Africana studies. Seminal. I was just with him a month ago. This is James Turner and Jabari Osaze wearing the same shirt. Family, I'm wearing this shirt too much. But I want you to understand that I understand the fields very well. Why did Dr. Ali
Stanley made the best ones.
Muhammad do that? When it's actually, Africana Studies was brought to us by powerful Black students at Cornell who fought to learn about who they were. I can't even expand this picture. My computer's having a glitchy moment right here. Can you see this here?
Yes.
These are Black students that took over the Union building at Cornell and demanded Africana Studies. That's who they are. And behind them, they are standing at the space that would be the first Africana Studies department. Here they are coming out the Willard Straight Hall again. Here's Dr. Turner. By the way, guess what happened to that building that they came out of?
What?
The Tomhu at Cornell burned it to the ground. To the ground. We fought for these studies. We fought to understand who we are and how we came into being. That's who we are. That's who we are. And so the reason why he did this, I'm gonna just leave it on this. The reason why he wants to even say negative things about Africana studies, negative things about whether we should use the word African, negative things about whether he has origin on the continent, is because he is trying to confuse you, family. This part is dastardly. He's trying to take you away from the continent. Family, you go ahead. Dr. Ali Muhammad, you leave. I'm going to stay on the continent that has all of the resources, that has proof that it is the origin of civilization, that has proof that has the origin of African culture. And while he dithers, behind his head, it says denationalized African American. He's so confused that even on his own banner, he uses the term African American behind him. Don't go down that road. Yes, read it, please, Dr. Ali Muhammad. Read it.
Yo,
This is confusing.
I gotta wait.
We gotta stop this, family. This brother is leading you down a road that is not going to lead you to power. That's why I'm so diligent to argue with him, and that's why I am still calling out that coward Dane Calloway. I don't want all his peons. I want Dane Calloway.
That nigga called me A1 Chief Peons. I'll smoke this nigga. And we ain't fraud. I speak for me. Give me 30 seconds, y'all. I'll be right back in just a second. We back.
Gotta stop this, fam. Is leading you down a road that is not going to lead you to power. That's why I'm so diligent to argue with him, and that's why I am still calling out that coward Dane Calloway. I don't want all his peons. I want Dane Calloway in the ring. because I am going to tear up his information like I can tear up Dr. Ali Muhammad's poorly sourced, poorly scholarly, rationalized information as well.
All right, family. I think that, and I want y'all to check with me and let me know that these two gentlemen right here just raised the bar on Sarnetta Studios on what a debate is supposed to be carried out. Am I right or wrong, family? They both have raised the goddamn bar on what is a respectful discussion and debate. This is what I've been trying to get all the time. But, you know, it always turns crazy with some of these crazy Negroes. But this right here with these two brothers have raised the bar. Brother Ali, you got 10 minutes, brother, to respond. And then after this, I'm going to open up the floor for you and Brother Jabari to talk to each other. Brother Ali, it is 11:02. You got the floor, brother.
Okay, so he questioned my literacy. I'm actually an author of over 20 books and have a documented curriculum that I personally developed where every child inside of that curriculum went to some institution of higher learning and then came back and was entrepreneurial in some experience. Those of you who know about Muhammad's Islamic Academy in North Philadelphia know that. But he just proved for the second time that he's illiterate. I corrected him on the Aboriginal side to let him know the difference between these words, and he continues to try to make a legal conversation, which he is not able to make because he would have to go and get some credentials. Brother Jabari, this word denationalized means someone who has had their identity stolen, their political identity and historical identity. So me using African American is say, do not use it. Do not use it. Do not use it. When we use African American, we name ourselves after two white people or two white concepts. That's just easy. If it was a Chinese man inside of this room and his name was King Tut, Nefertiti, whatever, his brothers and sisters in China would look at him and say, why is your name not Bruce Lee? Or not Bruce Lee, but some other name. Brother, you helped my point. Now, getting back to this particular issue with me showing 130,000-year-old bones in California. You must understand what I was trying to show is they're going to continue to backdate these numbers. And I'm going to show one more time so you can get what I was trying to say. I did not help your argument. I helped my argument in saying that the out of Africa theory is so bogus, it changes and now it's been debunked. The out of Africa's theory does not stand. For those of you who saw that article that I shared, I have the PDF. If you come on my Facebook, my Instagram, I will give you the entire article. Read it. There is, according to evolutionary biologists, at this point, with the latest genomic data that's out, it's debunked. So let me go back to this issue of the backdating of the origins of any types of humans in the Western Hemisphere. Let me go to it. And what I'm going to show you now is from the U.S. Geological Survey, a respected entity. And then I'm going to show you the data from this lady who was fired for the same thing that was found in California, but with greater detail. Here we go. Geologic evidence for age of deposits at Huatlaco archaeological site, Vescuelo, Mexico. Now, this is written by Virginia Steen McIntyre. All right, this is the lead archaeologist right here. She basically has been whiteballed because she came into this place, Huatlaco, and said, hey, we now have evidence that humans were in this area upwards of 370,000 years ago in North America. This multiplies the date in California by 2 times and then some. This is you can see the article published, Quaternary Research. All right, this is the source right here. And the U.S. Geological Survey is posting this article because it has a lot to do with the geology in the area and the geologists who help the archaeologists do this particular study. Now, what year was that? What year? 1981.
Okay.
All right. All right. So check this out. Let's go to what she actually found. Let's go to what she used. Check this out. Look at what she used. How far are we going to go back? Now the outer Africa theory is going to be, oh, well, humans were here 2 million years ago. We don't know. We don't know how long. Check this out, family. All right, so I'm going to show you what she used. There's a whole presentation that I did on this whole particular article. So you can see she used 4 radiometric dating methods. All right? The primary archaeology study dated the site to 250,000 years. The primary data never made it out of the preliminary report into textbooks because Miss McIntyre was whiteballed. She was sabotaged. So the Huatlaco site, let me get this right.
Yeah. Hey, while we in the chat, man, we got 188 in here. I appreciate it if I can get some support. From y'all in the chat by hitting the like button and sharing this on all your social media outlets. And I appreciate if y'all drop some fire emojis in the chat right now, man, to let me know if y'all feeling the build. If so, I'll let it continue. If not, I can end this right now, and then we can end this build, and you know what I mean. I'll do another build later on tonight or tomorrow. Just let me know. Drop some fire emojis. Let me know how y'all feeling. It's lit in here. Shout out to all my cousins, the 186 in here. Shout out to my cousins. And when I say cousins, y'all, that's how I address a royal bloodline lineage that's from America. That's how we address one another. What up, cousin?
Zircon fission had the dating at 270,000 years ago. The uranium series dating of the butchered camel bones by some intelligent being that we would know as some type of human 245,000 years ago.
I don't know if y'all can hear what he's saying. He kind of going out. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Hey, let me give a shout out to one of the legends, to one of the staples, one of the pillars in the Aboriginal community. A lot of y'all want to have this thought process, ideology shifted from this Native American paradigm to where you are now without this brother. Shout out to Hanu Kiel, aka Unconscious One. Appreciate your Cash App donation, big bro. I really do appreciate that. Let's go.
Right. Yeah, Zircon fission had the dating at 270,000 years ago. The uranium series dating of the butchered camel bones by some intelligent being that we would know as some type of human 245,000 years ago. And this is her right here. She has videos herself. This is a credentialed archaeologist who worked for years, and she's detailing why they did not want her data to hit the books and what it has to do with this cover up, with this out of Africa theory that's falling apart like wet tissue paper. Now, let me come to this other part of this argument. Let me come to this. Brother Jabbar, I have one question for you, and I just need a quick answer. How old or what year was your teacher born in? Around, approximately? Well, your teacher that you just showed on the, your. you talking about James Turner? James Turner, excuse me, yeah, James Turner. What year was he born?
I he was probably born in the 40s. No, he's probably he's in his 70s now.
Okay, so yeah, we're looking at 40, 50. Yeah, 40s, 50s. Okay, good. All right, so let's go back to the very same article that Jabari showed, and I want to show you how deceptive he was with the point that he made. Because if you read the whole Wikipedia article, you will see my contention on Franz Boas and anthropology and Africana studies is going to stand. All right, let's go to it. And I'm going to show you why that's important, because Franz Boas, his studies in American Aboriginal anthropology and his setting up and assisting with the setting up of curriculums had something to do with why I made the statement that I made. So let's go to that article so we can debunk what Jabari shared. So this is the exact same article, Africana Studies, right? The exact same article. You can go to the place where he Googled this and he cited his teacher, as one of the founding peoples in the Africana study. Now, go down to history. This is important. And I'm going to highlight this. All right. Let's start here. Right here.
Listen to this, how he about to kill his old argument because Jabari tried to do the slick slide and say that his teacher that he knows now is who started, was fundamentally a part of it. But he gonna get into the actual history. That's why he asked when was his teacher born. Listen.
I'm gonna read this paragraph right here. Let's see what it says. A specific aim and objective of this interdisciplinary field of study is to help students broaden this field of study is referring to Africana studies. Is to help students broaden their knowledge of worldwide human experience by presenting an aspect of their experience, the Black experience, which has traditionally been neglected or distorted by educational institutions. Additionally, this course of study strives to introduce an Afrocentric perspective, including phenomena related to the culture. According to Robert Harris Jr., an emeritus professor of history at the Africana Studies Research Center at where? Cornell. There have been 4 stages in the development of Africana studies. 4. Jabari mentioned stage 3 with his teacher. There were 2 stages before it that he didn't mention. Why did he leave those out? Why did he start with somebody who was born in the 40s or the 50s? Because he's leaving out over 60 years of history that goes back to what I'm saying about Franz Boas and this architected Afrocentric study that has a political motivation to it. All right, so let's look at it. 4 phases, 4 stages. This is a professor, emeritus professor at the school that Jabari went to.
He was my professor as well. I'll show you his picture.
Thank you. So you know him. Great. I want to see you. Go against.
I want you to prove what you're saying.
Okay. Here we go. 4 stages. All right. What's the first?
Notice Jabari keep cutting him off. He's getting slightly upset. Trust me. Jabari about to get real mad. Watch this.
First stage. From the 1890s until the Second World War.
If you ain't never seen Jabari get mad, watch how this Aboriginal information get him and how Ali Muhammad calls out his tactics.
Numerous organizations developed to end.
Before we get into this, give me just a second. I'm going to come right back. Give me 30 seconds. I'm going to fix this audio, and I'll be right back. Shout out to the family in the chat. Shout out to everybody. We got a mic check. Get us to get a mic check. We got the 202 up in the building. Shout out to my 202 in the building. That's all my cousins off in there. Maybe a few trolls and haters, but shout out, for the most part, it's my cousins. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Peace and blessings to everyone. High vibes. Y'all know my slogan: peace, love, light, and unity. Out 2021.
All right. What's the first stage? From the 1890s until the Second World War, numerous organizations developed to analyze the culture and history of African peoples. Now, I'm going to tell you what those organizations are, who they were. In the second stage,
Can you hear? I don't know what the fuck going on with it. Let's see if I can fix this shit. Oh, shit. There we go. Oh, what the fuck? My bad, y'all.
Well, family, there's enough Tom, and you're supposed to say, I'd like you to say, by the way, the study was published in 1981. He called it recent work. 1981. We're talking about something that is almost 40 years old by one person. One person. And she looked at a camel pelvis and tools and said, well, maybe this means that people were in the Americas longer. The same argument I made for me carrying my hacksaw up the stairs is the same argument I must make here, family. Showing me tools doesn't prove that people were there at that early, because one of the things that people do, even when they go, have you ever been camping, Dr. Ali Muhammad? Have you been camping? When you go camping, don't you take stuff with you? People take things with them. This doesn't prove that people were there earlier. By the way, the initial work was done in 1973. Family, I was born in 1972. This is dated information that does not support his argument. But he put it on the screen and wanted you to believe that it did. Here go a few other sources. Take a look at this one. When was this one? 2012. Human Evolution Out of Africa, the Role of Refugia and Climate Change. This is describing the migrations that come out of Africa. This is in Science Magazine. This is a scholarly journal. Let's go further. I'm gonna show you another one really quickly because I'm running out of time. Take a look at this one, Science Daily. New research confirms out of Africa theory of human evolution. Now, family, I wouldn't even normally use this because it is actually over 10 years old. But if Dr. Ali Muhammad is going to show you stuff from another millennium, 1981, brother, in order for you to use that research, you need to have a high top fade. If you don't have a high top fade while you're showing us that, this is ridiculous. You should be breakdancing while you're giving us that. And listening to LL Cool J or something. That stuff is old. This is 2007. This is the latest information. And it does not comport with what he's telling you. The only thing he's showing you is tools. He hasn't shown you actual artifacts of human beings. And guess what? We don't have to look for skeletons anymore because we can actually look at the mitochondrial DNA. We can actually look at people's DNA makeup and tell you when they got to the region that they're in. So he's following bones because he's following a 1981 model when we did not have an advanced scholarship with regard to DNA. That's why he's doing that. That's why he's doing that. If this is the information he has in his books, he said he wrote it 10 years ago. It was dated when you wrote it, brother. It was dated when you wrote it. You shouldn't be showing us this. You are showing us that, at least in terms of the scholarly logic that you put forward in these arguments, it is sorely lacking. These are major problems in the arguments you're putting forward, brother. And keep in mind, he has still not shown us, and he said this on Sonnetta's platform, by the way, that he was the first one to say that slavery occurred in reverse. So he would like you to believe that you are not an African, that you were here and they took you someplace else and then brought you back. None of the people who give you this, I'm clapping like I'm in the hood because I can't believe you gave me this argument. I'm sorry. None of the people who give you this argument will show you any sort of, they won't show you any sources that support it because there are no sources. These are flights of fancy. Stop them. What they are doing is dangerous for our community. It is confusing. And
1 minute, Jabari.
When you confuse a group of people who need to do important work, it actually sets our work in different directions. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Dr. Ali Muhammad does not want you to go far because these arguments have us strictly alone.
You got 2 more minutes grace period, brother, if you want to take them, Jabari.
Listen, there's a lot that I can say here. There's tons I can say here. I want you to understand that the people he mentioned are people that I know. I showed you the images of me with them. I didn't show you the throwback pictures of Jabari with the high top fade in the 90s with these people. I could have done that. This is an area that I'm really, really well versed in. And he's making arguments that don't fit together. One of the reasons why I think some people do that is because they are dealing with the pain of enslavement. And the reason why they do that is because they have been told the wrong story about their enslavement. They don't understand that the story of our enslavement is not something for us to be uncomfortable about. It's something for us to be proud of, because our people destroyed the most powerful, inhumane global system in the world. For those of you who have been following me, you know that the best way for me to tell this story quickly is with the story of this brother known as Gordon. You've seen me show this image of the brother that has the lashes on his back. People would actually like you to just know this image here. But in reality, Brother Gordon escapes his enslavement, walking literally 40 miles barefoot and rubbing onion on him so that he could escape the dogs. And when he gets to the Union line, he doesn't say, wow, that was rough, I'm home. He puts on a uniform and goes to fight for the freedom of his people. If we looked at our enslavement that way, we wouldn't be embarrassed of it. That's where a lot of this comes from, because we're embarrassed to actually say that we were enslaved. Well, family, I'm telling you that was a difficult period, but we were victorious.
Bro, you wasn't a slave, bro. You was not a slave, bro. You was POW, bro. You was not a slave, Jabbar.
Over it. We are an African people with a glorious past, and if we listen,
you were not an African, bro. We wasn't enslaved.
And look at our past, we will have an even more glorious future.
All right, Brother Ali, where are you with this? Do you want to question the brother now, or you want to go back and get another 10 minutes?
Let me go back and get my 10 minutes.
All right, he gonna get in 10 minutes now. Jabari, when he come back, we opening up the floor so y'all can have a dialogue. Y'all two gonna talk. All right, and then we might want to open it up for questions. Go ahead, Brother Ali. The time is 11:30. Let's go, brother.
All right, so Jabari has the great gift of gab. He reminds me a little bit of a very polished polite. When he comes, he speaks. Very cunning, but empty. So now, I showed that article from 1981 to show specifically that camel bones had been humanly mutilated. The article is old, but there has been no refutation to say it wasn't mutilated. And the only reason I showed it is to show the out of Africa theory changes every freaking day. It changes every day. It was used politically for a reason. Oh, what does the Berlin Conference have to do with that early first period of Africana studies that I'm mentioning that he's trying to get around? What does it have to do with anything? Because the founder of the curriculums that spread across America, Mr. Franz Boas, was the primary compounder of how the studies would happen in Africa after they were invaded. I'm about to prove this to you. But let me make sure that you saw dates, because when I showed this article to show that the out of Africa theory is bogus, it was 2017. I want him to show me an article from 2017 or 2018 that rebuts or properly vets this article I'm about to show. I showed it at the beginning. He dances around a lot, but I want to make sure I go back just as a reminder. So Jabari, with his electric slide two-step, does not confuse us. This article is what? 2017. What is it about? A phylogenetic view of the out of Asia, Eurasia.
Who laughing, man? Ain't nobody laughing. But the shit is as funny listening to Jabari bullshit.
And out of Africa hypotheses in light of recent molecular and paleontological facts. Recent. And so now when you read this article and you go through the sources, they are in their paradigm of evolution debunking an out of Africa theory. And I showed you the maps because we can't read this. You can purchase this article. It's only $35. If you have an institution, you can become a member and sign up to it. This is what they're saying. Jabari, this is your new model. If you reject this model right now, what you're saying is the people or the groups who initially gave you out of Africa theory, you're going to stick with them and not stick with their students who are correcting that particular model. You are an Asiatic, according to evolutionary biology, that you accept. You are not an African, you are Asiatic who became African. I don't accept the model, so I don't have to deal with none of the bullshit. But I'm gonna have to stop calling y'all Afropeans and call y'all Asiatic beings. Because y'all are now Asiatics. This is a peer-reviewed, latest data model for the out of Africa theory, which they don't have anything updated, or nor can they do the strenuous work of vetting this article and looking at cross arguments to disavow what's being said here. Now let me go back to this issue of the Berlin Conference, the first studies of Africana studies, and who was the teacher of Mr. W.E.B. Du Bois. Process and the curriculum, he had to take tests to pass to get his degrees that he got. All right, let me lay this down for you with clarity so that Jabari can't two-step.
They got it zoomed in on Jabari's face, and his face is totally upset. He looks disgruntled. He looks disgruntled, you guys.
He will not be.
That's a word he probably would have used.
The two-step after this. Your dance will be off beat, brother. So let me go ahead and show you what I'm about to show you. But W.E.B. Du Bois was no founder or no pivotal member of Africa.
We got 212 people in the chat. I appreciate if we can get some likes up in the building. Let's get the likes up. And I appreciate if y'all can share this on your social media. Instagram, if you're in Instagram, tag me in the post. If you ain't following me on Instagram, maybe the moderators can put that in there so y'all can go follow me. And hey, support the channel, man. Support the channel by hitting this like button, man. Appreciate all the support, you guys.
Kind of studies, W.E.B. Du Bois was a parrot. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm about to show you. But W.E.B. Du Bois was no founder or no pivotal member of Africana studies. W.E.B. Du Bois was a parrot. Let me help you. Let me help you, Mr. Du Bois. Let me help you. From Savage to Negro, Anthropology and the Construction of Race, 1896 to 1954 by Lee D. Parker, Chapter 8. This is your boy right here, right? And it's quoting this from the page. Boaz and his what? Students and his close associates develop a tightly knit discourse that align theories of racial equality with notions of the historical specific cultural relativity. In 1925, Melville Herskowitz, all right, excuse me, one of Boaz's most celebrated students, was an instructor where? At Howard. Now, Boaz had been in the anthropology of Africana studies since the 1890s. That means he has 35 years in. His student, Melville Herskowitz, is at Howard as an instructor to who? All the people you named. African-American intellectuals, such as Arthur H. Fawcett, Zara Neale Hurston, you just mentioned him, Arthur Schoenberg, Carter G. Woodson. Oh, excuse me for the spelling issues. Okay, we'll do a spell check. That's cool. And W.E.B. Du Bois accepted and built on Boaz.
Du Bois had to say something. He said, "You spelled his name wrong. You spelled it wrong, sir."
His work. And did what? Accepted and built on Boaz's work. That's important. Boaz's work to explain the so-called culture of the Negro. So this is your boy right here, and this is his teacher right here. Franz Boas, a German Jew, was the director of anthropology at Columbia University. I'm about to break something down so severe, it's going to blow this shit out of the map. Excuse me for using that word. He negotiated with Columbia University to consolidate the various professors into one department, of which Boas would take charge. Boas' program at Columbia became the first PhD program in anthropology in America. 1906 commencement address at Atlanta University. He came and spoke at the invitation of who? One of his second generation students, W.E.B. Du Bois. But Let's take a closer look at it, because I said that Africana studies was made for invasion of culture. Let me prove it to you. Let me prove it to you. Columbia University, all right, or Columbia and the U.S. intelligence community. Wow. The very nature of the Cold War struggle against communism and the drive for empire required extensive non-military resources. The U.S. intelligence community, non-military resources. The U.S. intelligence community, under the direction of the Central Intelligence Agency, that is the alphabet boys, one of them, the CIA, is in charge of enlisting the expertise and the cover of non-governmental organizations through covert penetration of civilian branches of the government, voluntary groups, corporations, law firms, research centers, cultural projects, foundations, and universities. The CIA is able to mobilize and coordinate for government service much of the seemingly apolitical work of the U.S. civilian society. The primary tasks of the U.S. intelligence community are gathering and analyzing strategic information for decision makers and positioning trained personnel in key locations to manipulate the course of events. For a history of discussion of the CIA, see Wise and Ross, The Invisible Government. Like several large universities, Columbia offers excellent opportunities for achieving these goals. Most of the evidence points to indirect relationships, but because the CIA is closed and secret, and because the Columbia administration refuses to discuss the CIA relations, it is quite possible that the CIA and Columbia University ties are far more direct and pervasive than the public data now indicates. In fact, our own information indicates that these ties are so direct as to involve a highly influential group of men in dual positions of leadership inside Columbia and the CIA itself. Why did I read that? Because I'm about to read this. The African American Institute, whose head was L. Gray Cohen, another student of Boaz, worked to develop relations with the CIA at the founding of these periods that I'm talking about that he keeps skipping over, with an interest for what? The interest was to study, to colonize. Africana studies on the back end where people are getting these degrees in it, that's now fine and dandy. Its initiation was colonization. I'm about to keep proving this point. Let's go. All right, so here we have Professor L. Gray Cohen. He was a member of the SIA and the Student Institute of African Studies. And he was also a part of the Council on Foreign Relations at Columbia University, who worked directly with the CIA, who was funded to get people to go to Africa to study. Who were these people? Now it gets hot. Okay.
Now, Jabari got mad earlier and he kind of diffused himself. This is the part where Jabari gets extremely upset. Pay attention to how he strategically attacks Jabari Angle with data and fact. Listen.
African Studies Association of the United States, President L. Gray Cohen of Columbia University, funded by Arthur Krim. Let me go back to Krim so you can see who he is. Arthur Krim, multimillionaire, all right? This guy was an advisor to presidents, all right? And he was on several boards, and his interest, he was the chairman of United Artists, Orion Pictures. Why is he funding
No. How much time are we going here?
No. Brother, I did not do that to you, brother.
Listen, I'm just.
We're going to keep this upstairs because you had no words out of me.
Hold 1 second.
No,
not asking.
Hold on, Jabari. Just let him go. We don't want to give it to you.
Wait a minute.
Relax.
This is Sandra. Sandra is on the phone. He is not looking at the time.
Relax. No,
I got you. He got 3 more minutes.
Oh man, you know what? You just wasted a whole 60 seconds, brother.
Yeah, right.
Okay, don't worry about it. We give it to you.
Yeah. So let me read what because you don't want me to read this. All right. The association that was funded by the Carnegie Corporation, CIA, Arthur Krim, L. Gray Cohen was at the head of Columbia University. He was a student of Boaz. What did they do? This association was founded in 1958 at a meeting point for all American scholars. This is the African Studies Association. All right. And it is now one of the most active organizations in the field. African study in the United States started much earlier with the pioneering field work of Melville Herkowitz the interests of Lincoln University in the education of young Africans, and the first steps by W.B. Du Bois to create a pan-African movement. During World War II, these were attempts to organize an international conference on Africa. Most academic interests, however, date from the late 1940s when the Carnegie Corporation of New York extended its program of grants to universities for areas to study include the African field, gave funds for the fellowships, sent groups, mature scholars to Africa for look-and-see tours. In the 1950s, the Ford Foundation made many grants to Northwestern, Boston, and Howard University to establish a field of training fellowship program under which a majority of the younger Africans now active in the United States have been trained. Who was in these groups? I'm about to show you. Who was in these groups? African Studies Association, who was funded by the CIA, who was funded by Arthur Krim, who was a student of Boaz, a student of the student of Boaz, who was associated with the CIA. Who were in these groups? Who was in the African Heritage Studies Association? John Henry Clark, Leonard Jeffrey.
He calling them CIA agents, bro. He's calling them CIA agents, and Jabari's pissed. He did it in an elegant, real scholarly way.
Michael Sills, Nicholas Onyewu, Shelby Faye Lewis, Nell Painter. These people have been used. They are brilliant scholars who were used by white people to develop a paradigm that we are now still following that's out of date. My last statement on this is no culture.
He's saying they was agents without even knowing that they was agents.
In current Afrocentric thought. Why am I saying that? What is the Afrocentric diet? They eat what the white man eats. What is the Afrocentric legal paradigm? What is the Afrocentric economic paradigm? What are these paradigms? The Aboriginal paradigm, which grew from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has these things: farms, schools, a way to eat. I saw Unc eating bacon and eggs from the Chinese people downstairs the last time I was with him. How are you going to keep the African healthy?
He said Unc was eating bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches the last time he was with Unc. Listen.
The Aboriginal paradigm, which grew from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, has these things: farms, schools, a way to eat. I saw Unc eating bacon and eggs from the Chinese people downstairs the last time I was with him. How are you going to keep the African healthy? The Aboriginal paradigm offers culture in the form of activation so that we can save ourselves. Now, what the Afrocentric paradigm offers is an upgraded, modernized church to make your ass feel good for 5 minutes, then to take your ass back to work, take a tour or a trip to Africa as a visitor, doing no serious field work. I do not, let me get my head. I do not in any sense hate Africa. I love my brothers and sisters, but I know they've been colonized. Do not paint me as a hater of the continent, that I want to disconnect Aboriginal people globally. I do not. I do not agree with the educational paradigms that are making us weak, subjected to colonization, and masking it in academic bullshit.
Time. All right, brother Jabari.
No, son, you got to do better with the time, brother. Come on.
All right.
Come on now.
You're going to give us time.
You interrupted me for 2, brother.
All right, but listen. Let's not go. Let's keep it good. Jabari.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Because all that 60 minutes can be destroyed in about 15 seconds. First of all, Columbia University does not have an Africana Studies department. Neither does Howard. We are talking about Africana Studies. Second of all, understand that Columbia is a massive institution and has all kinds of racists there.
See, Unc even proving that ain't no Asian hate. Hey, Unc, we don't hate Asians. This nigga eating bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches from the Chinese, man.
Cornell. I'm not bigging up Cornell like Cornell is some place for the liberation of African people. I fought for what we got there. They're racist there too. Just because you show me that they're racist that are part of these institutions means that we shouldn't study the history of Africa and the African diaspora? That's a foolish argument. And then here's the other thing, family. I want you to play the video back because Dr. Ali Muhammad is doing something ridiculous. He shows you the African History Association, and then he connects that to the African Heritage Studies Association. They are different organizations. Just because they have the initials AH, they are different organizations. You can't say they're the same. You actually malign the name of one of my scholar ancestors, Dr. John Henry Clark, who was not part of the institution you mentioned. That was the African Heritage Study Association, of which I was a member. It's not the same organization, brother. You are out of your element.
He said, brother. Chauncey made the best ones.
Out of water and out of your mind. Those things don't fit together. I'm done.
Okay, so now, brother Jabari, I would like to open up the floor for you and brother Dr. Ali to go ahead and have a conversation. You first. You can ask Ali any question you want, brother. You got the floor, Jabari.
I want to ask him very cautiously, Brother Ali Muhammad, do you come from that continent that we call Africa? Where is your lineage from? Where does it begin?
Okay, my lineage starts with my mother.
Oh,
that. I mean, you asked me a question.
lineage start with your mother?
Hold up, Jabari. Let him answer you. Just let him answer you.
It starts with my mother, who I know for a fact that I was born from her womb. My mother is not in Africa, and unfortunately, she never had the chance to travel as much because of a condition that she had, which she's not here from. But she was born here in America, right? My grandmother, her mother, was born here in America. My great grandmother was born here in America. My great great grandmother was born here in America. So that does two things for me when I answer your question. Where do I come from? What I know for sure is that I'm born on a earth that has dirt everywhere. And so when I go to identify where I come from, where my lineage is, we can use a lot of different factors. But what I can prove is that I was born on earth from a black woman or an aboriginal woman who is the mother of civilization. She's not a mother of a continent. She's not a mother of a name carved out by Europeans. She's the mother of a planet. And we've been all over that particular planet. I refuse to throw myself in a Masonic, Boule, academic box that I know I don't belong in.
Okay, so now it's your turn, Ali. So now, brother Ali, let me ask you. So you're saying if you was to go back even further, it will not tie back into the land called Africa today?
It will tie into people, because when you do genetics, you're not studying dirt. You're studying people.
Oh my!
What? So you're not studying dirt. You're studying people. All right?
That's a fact. Jabari mad. He's crushing Jabari. He's fucking him up.
And so what I'm saying to you is that I don't subscribe to your paradigm, which is the out of Africa theory. So I'm not going to jump into that particular paradigm. I can show you, based on evidence, genetic and other, that these haplogroups, A, male haplogroups, L haplogroups, are all over the planet. These are hypotheses proposed by Europeans that you just don't have the expertise to debunk, so you believe it.
All right, Dr. Ali, it's on you. You can ask Brother Jabari any questions you want.
Okay.
Draw your premise up and go in. Go ahead.
Brother Jabari, I have a question for you, and the question is this. You just said that the African Heritage Studies Association, right, which you were a member of, had no connection to L. Gray Cohen's, let me get the name right, because I don't want to mess this up, African American Institute. It had no connection whatsoever. Is that what you just said?
brother, why don't you show your own slides? Because your slides are poorly done. You said that the...
I asked you a question. I just asked you a question.
No, but you're not saying what you said before. I am astute enough to recognize that...
Look, Jabari is denying answering the question. He's not going to answer. Watch this.
You are making a second argument.
Okay.
What I said was you showed two institutions.
And again?
You showed two institutions.
I showed
And you, through some sleight of hand, maybe you just didn't know. Let me say that. Maybe you just didn't know.
It's my question, so you're gonna help me ask the question right.
Do you want me to answer?
I want you to help me ask the question right.
Why not?
Go ahead.
Well, show the slides.
No,
show
no.
your slide.
You said that
Show your slides, and show your slides, and
I'll do exactly what you're asking me to do. And
go to the slide that goes with the African History Association.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna go to them because there's 3 of them, so I can help you out.
I'll tell you which one it is that I'm referring to.
I know which one it is, but there are 3 of them. I'm going to show all of them.
Okay, so let me see the one that you're trying to connect. Let's see it.
All right. Okay. So here we go. All right. All right. So this deals with, from the book Afrocentrist Stephen Howe. The reason why I mentioned John Henry Clark's name, here it is right here. All right, is that this particular African Studies Association.
That's not the page that I'm referring to, and I think you know that.
Okay, let's go back. Which one are you referring to? That one?
No, go back another page. You know what you're doing.
This one?
Come on, man.
No, Ali, number 97.
You know what you're doing.
I'm trying to say. Okay, listen.
Here it is. You know exactly what I'm talking
I
about.
don't know. I'm trying to get you the.
Let me know if y'all can still hear everything loud and clear. Drop some fire emojis in here. It's about to get real heated.
Technically.
Oh, so then you switched away from it. Come on, man.
Go ahead, Jabari.
Yeah. See, you see how he switched it? You see how he switched it? Oh my goodness. Wow.
If I'm trying to hide it, I wouldn't even.
Wow. Go back to the first one.
Which one? Back this way, right here?
Go backwards. I'll tell you when to stop. Wait. I'm looking at the. Wait. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the YouTube. So, there it's there. Wait, it's the one before Du Bois, I believe. It's the one before Du Bois's picture.
It's Melville Hercules.
No, maybe it's the one after. It's the one after. I'm sorry. I'm seeing it on your screen.
Okay.
There it is. The African Studies Association of the United States. What you did is you tried to say that this organization was created by L. Gray Cohen of Columbia University. By the way, Columbia University at that time and until today does not have an Africana Studies department. So for you to slip and slide over that is just, it's sloppy.
So now we're doing this. All right, is you trying to spell something.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
Uh-oh.
So you...
Your boy about to turn up. He said, I said, and consequently, let me finish my inquisition.
Showed that slide, and you tried to say that the African Studies Association of the United States is the same as the, go to your slide 97.
That's not what I tried to do.
Go to slide 97, where you put John Henry Clark's name. Then you tried to say that these were the same organizations.
I did not. I never said that they were the same.
On your slide, you can see that they're not the same organization.
They are not the same organization. That's not what I said.
You tried to say that Dr. John Henry Clark was part of that institution. You said it, brother. Come on now.
Okay, so now I understand what you're saying. Because I had the question. Now I understand where you made an error. The error.
I made the error.
Okay, I'm gonna speak. The error that you made was that you assumed that I was saying that this organization right here, African Heritage Studies Association, was the same as African Studies Association of the United States. I did not make that mistake. You made it. What I'm saying is, listen to what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, this organization right here, with L. Gray Cohen, was the cause of this organization right here getting its funding to do what it had to do, and it was this man, John Henry Clark, who went to them to get funding. So what? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Prove it.
Yeah, I'm about to prove it right now. That's what I was trying to prove. But my time was coming down. So if I got time to prove that, I'm going to prove it. So here we go. Let's go back. All right.
Come on, man. You can't take forever. Come on. Come on.
Yo, bro, listen.
You're running. What you're doing is
I know what you're trying to do, but let me read. Africans attending the ASA conference have demanded the study of African life be undertaken from a Pan-Africanist perspective. All right, this is what they were doing. This perspective defines that all Black people are African peoples.
This is not answering the question, Dr. Ali Muhammad.
Hey,
I know what the
sorry, now you're starting to do what Ankh does, brother. Like, I'm trying to help. I'm reading the slide to help.
No, you're being disingenuous now.
Okay, you don't want me to read the slide, brother. Let me finish reading the slide. Let me finish reading the slide, all right?
Do you have to read the whole slide?
Bro, can we do something, bro? I don't know what's happening.
All right, Dr. Ali, what Jabari is asking you is to prove that Dr.
I know what he's asking me, and I went to read it, and he's like, you don't need to read the whole slide.
All right, so Jabari, you gotta let him do it, and if he don't do it, then that's when you can come back. So let him go, Jabari, go ahead.
Okay, so what Jabari did just now is that was a ploy for him to read the slide in advance so he could see my angle. Bro, it's cool. He's here. So let me read what I'm going to read. Africans attending the ASA conference. All right? They attended the conference. Let's go back. All right? This is the conference. African Studies Association.
I wish I was screen sharing. If y'all can see Jabari's face right now, it is classic, man. This nigga is totally oblivious. He is appalled to what's going on.
This is L. Great Goins' conference. The other group that John Henrik Clarke was a part of came to the conference with their institution. So they had two separate institutions, but they came to Cohen's conference. Why did they come? They didn't make their own. They came to his. Why did they come? I'm about to tell you. No. Let me finish, Brother Boy. Just chill, bro. Africans attending the ASA conference came and they made demands. And what were their demands? The study of African life be undertaken from a Pan-Africanist perspective. This perspective defines that all Black people are African peoples and negates the tribalization of all African people. That's what they wanted to do. The Black militants, headed by Clarke, also had more practical demands for an immediate change in the ideological framework of the ASA. They're asking for the change. Why? Which perpetuates colonization and neo-colonialism. And so that proves my initial point. L. Great Cohen and African Studies, all right? With Franz Boas. What Jabari just tried to do, wait, let me finish, brother. What Jabari tried to do, brother, you gotta let me speak. I didn't interrupt you once.
You've been speaking for a while, Dr. Ali Muhammad.
Brother, don't pull that boule shit over on me, brother.
You have to be.
Let's get back to it.
You pulling a boule tactic, and you know you are.
A boule tactic.
He's totally you right now, bro. So chill. All right, for an immediate change in the ideological framework of the ASA, which perpetuates colonialism and neocolonialism. What they were approaching was that Franz Boas.
Listen to what that nigga Ali Muhammad said to him.
Boule shit over on me, brother.
You have to be.
Let's get back to it.
You pulling a boule tactic, and you know you are.
A boule tactic.
He's totally you right now, bro. So chill. All right, for an immediate change in the ideological framework of the ASA, which perpetuates colonialism and neocolonialism. What they were approaching was that Franz Boas was an anthropologist. Columbia University did not have Africana studies. They grouped African studies under anthropology department. That's what they grouped the studies in, the course and the material in. They didn't have degrees like you got it in. So let me think, that African studies be made more relevant for control over research. What? Funds. The funds for the ASA came via the CIA, Arthur Krim, and white people. John Henrik Clarke wants control over the money from these people. And for half the members of the ASA's board to be Black. They wanted integration inside of a board that was for colonization, and they wanted to try to change it.
Shout out to my brother Friezo in the chat, man. Shout out to you, man. Salute. Good to see you in the chat. Shout out to the brother Friezo.
That's a noble request, but it's a slave mind. ASA
All right, Dr. Ali,
No, wait,
come on.
my last point right here.
Dr. Sonnet, what are you doing?
ASA President L. Gray Cohen insisting that this was a political rather than a racial issue, tried to write Finis to act to the affair by asserting, I welcome the presence of the AHSA, led by John Rick Clark, and hope that the parallel interests of the two groups will bring them closer together in the coming years. My point was very simple. They were connected, they wanted funds, they wanted money, and it was led by a U.S. intelligence agency in order to get the funding, who was working through Columbia University and the father of anthropology of these people, Franz Boas. So I don't want to hear nothing about it wasn't about colonization, because this proved that it was about colonization.
All right. All right, Ali. Now, Jabari.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Hold on. Let's end this off right without the nigga spit. Let's keep it on the scholarship.
Sonetta.
Jabari, it's your go. You talk.
Okay.
Go ahead, brother.
That's what I'm trying to do. First of all, let me say to you that what he just did is disingenuous. He's creating a conspiracy theory that doesn't make sense. And he's been looking in the chat room at some people who say negative things about me that are not true. That's why all of a sudden in the last 10 minutes, he keeps saying I'm doing boule stuff. Let me say very clearly for everyone, I am not a member of the boule. I am not a member. So he would like to try.
Let him go.
Are you part of a Greek fraternity?
Like to try.
Are you part of a Greek fraternity?
Everyone here knows I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Alpha Phi Alpha is not the boule.
You gotta let him go.
What is he doing? Sonetta, you gotta listen.
Hold on, brother. I'm telling him, but if he keep talking, Ali, you gotta let him go. Let's end this shit off right. It's a good debate so long time.
I just want to be very clear here that what he's done is he's tried to say
he's a Greek speaking to you. He's a Greek.
Are you still speaking?
Go ahead,
Are you still speaking?
That nigga Ali Muhammad got the nigga shit coming out. He said he's a Greek, nigga. He's a motherfucking Greek. Let's get into it though, y'all. Make sure y'all smack that like button, man. We got 201 people in the chat. I appreciate everybody still rocking out, man. We've been here for like 3 hours. I definitely appreciate all the support. I really do, man. I really do. Shout out to y'all. Y'all the realest motherfuckers. Without y'all, none of this shit would be possible. None of this information would be going rampant. A lot of this shit wouldn't get observed. A lot of this shit wouldn't even be getting put out. Thanks to you guys, man. Keep doing what you're doing by spreading this information and knowledge. Genealogy is key, and we all we got. Let's go.
Go ahead, Jabari.
Okay. I want to be very clear here that what he's doing, first of all, is a personal attack. And that is not what I thought he would do, because I actually respect him more than that. We have shared lots of ideas tonight. He would like to say that my membership in an organization that he knows nothing about invalidates my comments. Now, family, you have listened to me give you reasoned arguments for over 3 hours. So don't let him do that. That is unfair. That is unbrotherly, and I'm not going to stand for it. Now, let me say something very carefully here. Simply because people go to protest an institution that is heavily...
Hey, give me just a second. Give me 30 seconds. I'll be right back with you guys in 30 seconds. Let me check my audio. I'll be right back. Check. All right. Shout out to everybody still rocking out. Let's get it.
For over 3 hours. So don't let him do that. That is unfair. That is unbrotherly. And I'm not going to stand for it. Now, let me say something very carefully here. simply because people go to protest an institution that is heavily funded to study them. That doesn't mean that they are the same institution. The institution that is the African Heritage Studies Association was created because they were protesting that white folks had an institution to study Black people. And it was funded by university dollars. Universities get their dollars from tuition. So by the transitive property, what they were doing is they were taking everybody's money and they were giving it to the Tomhu to study Black folk. That is what the debate was about. And Dr. John Henry Clark, a man who I knew very well, he said, you can't take the money, our tuition money, give it to the Tomhu to study us in a colonialized manner. So what they did is they created their own institution, the African Heritage Studies Association. By the way, you should know that AHSA did not receive funding from those institutions. I know because I fundraised for it. Dr. Ali Muhammad, you are in an ocean that you've never been in. You don't know about AHSA. You don't know about Africana studies. You're just saying all those things that people did that are Africa are the same. Columbia had tons of racist professors that said very negative things about us. So did Cornell. That you can't now tar the great African scholars that led us out of that wilderness to study ourselves. Why are you doing that? You know that the Tomhu had all sorts of studies about the African. That's what they did. So for you now to say that because those racists were doing things that were negative, that were colonial, that were racist, that were colonial, that were racist, means that what Africans created that were colonial, that were racist.
Why the fuck did nigga repeat that shit so many times, though? This nigga mad as hell right now. You see what I'm saying? Let's continue this build. We'll rock this thing on out, y'all.
Okay. I want to be very clear here that what he's doing, first of all, is a personal attack. And that is not what I thought he would do, because I actually respect him more than that. We have shared lots of ideas tonight. He would like to say that my membership in an organization that he knows nothing about invalidates my comments. Now, family, you have listened to me give you reasoned arguments for over 3 hours. So don't let him do that. That is unfair. That is unbrotherly. And I'm not going to stand for it. Now, let me say something very carefully here. Simply because people go to protest an institution that is heavily funded to study them, that doesn't mean that they are the same institution. The institution that is the African Heritage Studies Association was created because they were protesting that white folks had an institution to study Black people. And it was funded by university dollars. Universities get their dollars from tuition. So by the transitive property, what they were doing is they were taking everybody's money and they were giving it to the Tomhu to study Black folk. That is what the debate was about. And Dr. John Henry Clark, a man who I knew very well, actually said, you can't take the money, our tuition money, give it to the Tomhu to study us in a colonialized manner. So what they did is they created their own institution, the African Heritage Studies Association. By the way, you should know that AHSA did not receive funding from those institutions. I know because I fundraised for it. Dr. Ali Muhammad, you are in an ocean that you've never been in. You don't know about AHSA. You don't know about Africana studies. You're just saying all those things that people did that are Africa are the same. Columbia had tons of racist professors that said very negative things about us. So did Cornell. That you can't now tar the great African scholars that led us out of that wilderness to study ourselves. Why are you doing that? You know that the Tomhu had all sorts of studies about the African.
He's saying a whole bunch of sweet nothing. He's a sorry sack of shit. He is a poor scholar. His brain he's really out of his cotton picking mind. You understand?
That's what they did. So for you now to say that because those racists were doing things that were negative, that were colonial, that were racist, means that what Africans created to study and create a discipline around their own history, that doesn't make sense. And anyone listening should understand that even in his slides, he was giving you a sleight of hand. And that sleight of hand makes no sense. Even his slides show you they make no sense. Here goes the Facebook page for the African Heritage Studies Association. The organization grew out of a protest at the 1968 African Studies Association meeting in Los Angeles, by the way, not at Columbia. Led by Dr. John Henry Clark, African descendant scholars demanded changes in ASA's Eurocentric approaches to African studies and its marginalization of African descendant scholars. Because of that, an organization, look down here, was created in 1969, the next year. Now, this is before I was born, but I was certainly very, very well versed on the history of the organization, the funding of the organization, and those great African scholars who he seeks to malign. I was very, very well familiar with them. He's speaking ill of Dr. John Henry Clark, saying that he's
that nigga gonna cry in the car.
Basically a CIA agent. How dare you? Now I'm offended because I know what that man was about, and I know the mettle of his scholarship. So for you to play intellectual sleight of hand here and to speak ill of an ancestor, maybe you are an African. Maybe I should not even be having this debate, because Africans don't do that. Africans revere their ancestors. I really want you to go back to the drawing board, to look at Africana studies. Don't just say if it says African, it's the same. We know that the Tom who were studying Africa. We know the Tom who carved up Africa. That doesn't mean that when we create scholarly institutions to study ourselves, that that's the same thing. How could you make that argument? I fought at Cornell for Africana studies. I was expelled in my fight for Africana studies and had to fight to be placed in to get my degree. I know what this is. Don't speak about something you don't know about.
All right, family.
Hey man, with that being said, man, I'm gonna end the video. Well, I'm gonna let it go on for a little bit longer. I'm gonna give it about 5 more minutes. I want to say shout out to my brother Ultralight. He said for the Cash App donation. He said thank you, cuz. Nah, thank you, cousin. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. Shout out to my brother Ultralight for the Cash App donation, man. I really appreciate all the support. I appreciate all y'all, man. Like I said, I send out high vibes, man. I ain't with none of the negativity shit, man. We want all peace, love, light, and unity. At the end of the day, we always got. That's what they tactics was, is to get us going against each other, y'all.
I like to say right quick, with these two giants right here, with this great discussion that we having, and when you take a look in the chat.
Yeah, he mad in the chat because we in there talking about we crushing his ass. So Sarnetta got mad. But yeah, man, with that being said, hit that like button, man. We out of here, man. Peace and love to all our American Aborigines. It was a fire-ass build. We're going to continue this thing out, man. Salute, salute. Hit the like button. Support the channel. We out.
Yeah, rhyme so dope, my eyes low. When you move like God, the time slow. I came back for the blacks and John Doe's. Crack open them land patents, let go of them townhomes. What's a native to a native? Eat $5 dough if he not melanated. Pale faces got you waiting on a savior. Sending prayers up, he texting back on vacation. God's children, give all your praise to Jesus, but how God feeling? He say put no one before him in divine image. It's who we got of Christians. I got a vision, but niggas ain't got a listen, so they don't. We came from the soil, wasn't fucking with no boats. Bible took our spirit, English plotted on our homes. Tribal families turned on us, don't act like y'all don't know. But fuck them and they grudges. We was something turned to nothing.
Now we let this turn to something. Reincarnation of ancients, fresh up out the oven. This the message to the black man. 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 Shooters on my roof, lawyers in the coop. We can never die, bitch, we bulletproof. This the message to the black man. This the message to the black man. You wasn't slaves, you was prisoners of war. And stop wasting your time, these other bitches ain't important. You ain't meditating, you ain't mating with the sauce. Like what the fuck's a noodle if you ain't painted with the sauce? I find it hard to trust the pastor who rather side with the master who preaching we should submit while getting murdered and captured. About how we should wait on God is never our vernacular. They get paid and praise by the dollar long as they keeping us stagnant. And niggas think they woke, huh? Like you could change a whole world through a vote, huh? Like slave masters willing to let they slave go, huh? That slave master was probably your kinfolk, huh? History in reverse, a black king strategy. When blacks were your majesty, they always hide your pyramids, but point to where the castles be. Aristocracies with your last name patent accurately. Yeah.